Mr. Mortensen?
Here.
Mr. Tadolini?
Here.
Mr. Wincheimer?
Here.
Mr. Chart?
Here. We do have a quorum. Please rise and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Is there a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved.
I'll second it.
Mr. President, I'd amend the main motion to add 4.2 HVAC inspection to business items.
Is there a second on the amendment of the motion?
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded to amend the main motion to include adding item 4.2 HVAC inspection. Is there any debate? If there's no debate, roll call please.
Mrs. Garrett? Mrs. Hanson? Mr. Miller?
Aye.
Mr. Mortensen?
Aye.
Mr. Tadolini?
Aye.
Mr. Wincheimer?
Aye.
Mr. Chart?
Aye. Motion passes. So the motion,
That was,
the amendment passes. Yep.
right. Then you get a vote on the main motion.
Yep, so the main motion is to adopt the agenda and add item 4.2 HVAC inspection. Do we need a repeated second on that? So it's been moved and seconded. Is there any debate? There's no debate. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Garrett? Mrs. Hanson? Mr. Miller?
Aye.
Mr. Mortensen?
Aye.
Mr. Tadolini?
Aye.
Mr. Wincheimer?
Aye.
Mr. Chart?
Aye, motion passes. Next item of business, 3.1, owner's rep interviews. Mrs. Cody, would you like to take the lead on this one?
Absolutely. First, we're gonna make sure we have a good signal.
Let me wake it up, maybe.
No, sir.
There it goes.
There we go.
Right, I'd like to introduce, answer, and if you don't mind just, because I know there's Matt, and anyway, I'll just
There's
have
a lot
you
of people here.
introduce yourselves.
I was gonna start off asking for your introductions, but I think we said it 4 times, so. That's right. We are Answer Advisory. We're an owner's representation firm based out of Windsor, Colorado. First off, I want to thank you all for your time tonight. It's late. I know you got families to get home to, so we'll try and be concise and get it over with. Jamie, I want to thank you and Grady for walking us. You've got better things to do during the day than lead a bunch of meandering consultants on a trip, so thank you for that. As we get started here, as I mentioned, we're based out of Windsor, Colorado. We've been an owner's representation firm in Colorado for going on 30 years now. It's longer than I've been with them, but I'm picking up the torch. Pardon me. In addition to owner's representation, we primarily focus on the K-12 market. In 2008, we did the first BEST grant up in the valley. Since then, we've done numerous BEST grants. We do serve districts along the Front Range, but we have definitely made our name serving rural districts such as yourself. Next slide. My name's Zach Lanier. I've been with Answer Advisory for 12 years. I've got 16 years of experience, primarily with special districts such as rec centers, K-12 districts, and BEST grants. Like I said, I've been here for 12 years. I started as a project technician with Answer Advisory and worked my way up to vice president. You're going to see that as a trend with people sitting here at this table. We believe passionately in home growing our project management staff. We don't do hired guns. We don't win jobs and then hire after we've won it. People that are sitting here are the people that are going to be running the project. I have a picture of Jeff Kirtley here. For all intents and purposes, Jeff Kirtley is not going to be involved in this project. Superintendent Cody thought it was important to send it directly to him, so I wanted to acknowledge that. Jeff sits on the other side of the wall from me, and we'll certainly bounce questions off of each other, but the team is handpicked for this project. Jeff won't be billing any time. I just wanted to acknowledge your efforts. Matt?
Thanks, Zach. Good evening. My name is Matt Little. I'm a senior project manager with Answer Advisory. I've been with the firm for coming up on 10 years now in January, and as Zach said, I started off as a technician as well, working my way up. I've been living in northern Colorado for 15 years since graduating from Colorado State University, and I am a husband and a father of 3 who are elementary age children. I'll be working as a senior project manager on your projects, operating over the, operating over the contractors and consultants you bring on board. I'm just wrapping up the Well 5J Best Grant program currently, and I'm excited to move into this project.
Thanks, Matt. My name is Matthew Long. I've been with the company for about 3 years. Assistant project manager. I was born and raised in Cheyenne, Wyoming. I earned my degree from the University of Wyoming. I have a civil engineering degree. So it's really important to me because both my teachers were parents. So with that being said, in my role to support this team, I'll be supporting everyone with the RFPs, whether it be some solicitation or evaluation to give you an understanding of the fidelity of what they submit. And then also I'll be working on invoice reviews and reporting. And with that, I'll pass it to Greg.
So I work, I'm the roofing guy, roofing consultant, so I'm a sub to them. I work with them on certain projects that are heavily roofing related, if they're large projects or complicated, that sort of thing. I've been doing it for about 2 years, so I do roof, wall, enclosure consulting. My background is in commercial roofing. I've been doing it for 30 years for some weird reason. But I started in Florida, worked my way up from the field when I got done college, and I was PM. I ran a large service department there. We had 20 crews throughout the state. Ran the operations for the business. We had 200 employees throughout the state. And at that point, I decided I need something different, so I moved to Colorado. I bought into a large roofing company in northern Colorado, in Greeley. And I was there for about 12 years, managing, running the business, that sort of thing. I had some partners. We decided to sell the business 2 years ago, so private equity bought us, and that's when I started this. So, you know, I guess my experience is I know roofing, I know roofers, I know roofing projects, I know how they're supposed to be run. So I wanted to kind of bridge the gap between contractors, architects, owners, that sort of thing, and, you know, help people through the process. You know, there's a lot of things that happen on a roofing project when you're a roofing contractor that you're not necessarily looking out for the owner. So when it comes to, you know, sub-labor and in-house crews and what kind of warranties you want, there's multiple tiers, and you know, what's your plan going into a project? If you're gonna go do $9 million worth of roofing in one summer, what's the plan? You know, how many people are you gonna put it on? Where are you gonna put them? How are you gonna get it done? So I like to look at the project and help you through those things from a design side. A lot of architects, you know, they have a master spec. They're looking at 26 different sections of construction. They don't understand roofing. They don't understand warranties and how to get the most bang for your buck. So I'm working right now with Windsor School District, St. Vrain, Platte Canyon. I do work with Hudson. I don't know if you know Stewart over there. But, you know, anyway, that's what I'm doing. And that's what I would hope to provide to your project.
So we're gonna run through some slides. You guys are aggressive on the interview turnaround, so we'll run through them. Hopefully they're informative, but my real hope is that after this, we can just have a conversation and you can ask whatever questions you have of us, and hopefully we can answer them.
So to start with, your owner's representative firm needs 3 key areas for a successful project, and we've put together a talented and hand-picked team for your projects. We understand the projects that you guys are undertaking, from the roof replacements and siding and window from the hail damage at Thompson Primary, Beaver Valley, and the Brush Secondary, and the admin building. That ties into the best grants that you all got for for the MEP renovation. First, you need to start with clear and transparent communication. Maintaining open and effective communication with the districts, all of you, stakeholders, parents, staff, students, contractors that you're gonna be bringing on board and their subs, and the insurance providers, because they're gonna play a crucial role in these projects. This involves regular updates, detailed reporting, and proactive resolution of issues that will ensure alignment with the project goals and create trust throughout the project. Second, you need a firm that understands your projects, and we understand renovations in schools. We've been doing it for over 30 years. We're no stranger to it, and we have made our name doing it. Second part of that is working on projects that deal with storm damage. We're no stranger to that either. On the environmental side of our company, a lot of what we deal with as a result of accidents and acts of God and storm damage. So we are very capable and ready to act on your projects. Third is going to be proactive risk management and problem solving. The ability to foresee potential risks, develop mitigation strategies, and respond swiftly to challenges will be critical. This includes ensuring safety on construction sites, managing costs effectively, and avoiding schedule delays while keeping the district's goals at the forefront of the project process. And really, these all start with the budget management. In order to create an effective program, you have to start with a clear and transparent and comprehensive budget. This is what we will assist you in doing. We'll establish a detailed and transparent budget aligned with the project goals and the funding requirements. This gets a little bit hairy and complicated as you're going to be working out of two pots of money with the BEST grant program. We're no stranger to this. I just finished the WELD 5J bond program, which had 4 BEST grants in it, and those all required separate pots of money to be tracked independently and reported to CDE on a monthly basis. Second part of that is ongoing cost tracking and reporting. We will monitor expenditures, commitments, and variances to ensure real-time visibility and control over finances. We're proposing using a budget forecast budget tracking system. This will allow you to track multiple sources of money and then track variances and expenditures down to the penny every step of the way. This also allows us to do forecasting and financial planning as we assess the budget forecast to anticipate future costs and avoid unexpected overruns. And all of this will be summarized in our monthly reports. And I'll let Matt Long speak a little bit more to that.
All right, thanks, Matt.
Oh, BEST grant. We'll talk about that. Yeah. Congratulations on your BEST grant. When did you find out?
Just last week.
Awesome. And we can get into this further, but did you get the full $3 million, or did they prorate it?
No, we received.
Spectacular. Okay. I just want to do a quick blurb on BEST. So I think I mentioned before, we did the first BEST grant in the state in 2008. Since then, we've done numerous. Jay Hoskinson is your BEST rep for the area. I just saw him at Casby, had breakfast with him. I've done projects with Jay before. We're well versed in the BEST program, in CC06, in reporting requirements, and besides Jay, I'm perfectly comfortable calling up any of the other BEST representatives and asking questions and bouncing things off the wall with them.
All right, thanks, Sam. Project reporting is an intricate part of all of the construction. Project reporting is really about just details. How are we going to be able to convey those details to you without overwhelming you with a lot of other construction information you might not know about? For instance, as Zach was saying, the BEST grant, we're going to have one budget with 2 streams of income coming into. We really need to have detailed financial transactions of our expenditures, anything that we have forecasted to come out in the future, and anything that we're committed to. With that also being said, that other set of money are going to be coming from the insurance. Insurance is going to have their own auditors and we're gonna have to make sure all of our information lines up with them so that they pay out the money in a timely manner, and we want to not be the delay. Having that accurate information is really, really important for us to be able to submit once with our draw requests and get everything done, not be tied up. A lot of that information I like to put forward with my projects. I like to have a weekly report. In that weekly report, I like to let milestones be known, know the progress of what's happening throughout the project, and what we're kind of looking forward to with the alignment of the schedule. Those weekly reports will then be compiled into a comprehensive monthly report. That monthly report is really good to share with your stakeholders and let people know where their money's going, know that what we're aligning is the same values, and it is transparent with all of you that where everything's going is going to be going. We like to use the tools with the budget forecast to then also allow you to see everything in real time. We'll also have a little bit of schedule and risk management. It is a tight schedule. Really working together with you to share your vision so that we can look forward in the future to potentially find any risks. If we do see some potential, we want to start a thoughtful plan to create some sort of mitigation and then keep the project on schedule and on time for you. And that turns into making sure all of our details that we reported in all of our weekly reports, inspections, and monthly reports get put into our punch box and warranty. We want to make sure the quality of the product that you purchase is what you want and what you're going to get. And with that, I'll let you talk a little bit about QA.
Thanks. So QA, QC. Greg introduced himself. You're probably wondering, why do we have a roofing consultant? We're the owner's rep. We are an owner's rep. At the very basis, owner's rep enforces a contract. We solicit it, evaluate it, recommend it, provide contract administration. We're experts in that. If you want to, just about any contract you want. I don't know if you want to do AIA or Cap One and Ernest, we can make it happen. What we are not is 30-year roofers. For that reason, we use Greg on multiple projects because he sees the holes, the gaps, ponding on an install, warranty gap that the architect missed during design. We're working with him at Mapleton Public Schools right now on Meadow Community School. He caught an edge-to-edge warranty gap that the architect spec'd but didn't know that it was not feasible. He's caught numerous install mistakes that the architect missed. He's worth his weight in gold. We solicit him as a prime contract under the owner. Given the difficulties that Jamie described, we thought, why don't we bring him in under us and pick him up before one of our competitors does. Greg, do you want to talk about that QA process?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I can help out on the insurance public adjuster side. It sounded like you have a public adjuster and you have an insurance company. So if you need some more verification on what needs to be done or to help with the claims process, it's not done on the roofing side, can help out in any way there. I've committed to do that with them. On the QA/QC side, it would be, again, it goes back to, there's a lot of manufacturers, they're all good products, but it really comes down to the guys that are on the roof installing it. So when I go up on the roof, I usually try to show up in the middle of the day, number of fasteners, what kind of adhesives, what's the temperatures, how are the details being done, that sort of things, what I'm looking at. And then it's either red or green. It's either good or it's red and it needs to be resolved. My goal is not to get into some conflict with the contractor. My goal is to catch it early and put it out there. I was on a project today at Highlands Ranch Library, 200 penetrations, and it's a 30-year, 3-inch hail, 90-mile-per-hour warranty. They had done 5 penetrations. They were using the wrong product and doing the wraps wrong. So I'll let them know we're going to redo those 5, but instead of doing 200 and delaying the project at the end, it's done, it's over with. The contractor is going to save some money. Usually it's a number of reasons that the projects go south is the crew may not be any good, but then the management may not be any good. The crew may be good, but just not getting the information. So I try to head things off and look for those sort of things and put them out there. Help you through the, final with the warranty, final with the permit. And then in the end, a lot of, one thing that I feel like is missed is maintenance programs. I'm not a roofing contractor anymore, so most people hear maintenance programs, and I'm like, I don't want to deal with that. But you're gonna buy a roof that's you're gonna get a 30-year warranty, 3-inch hail, 120 mile per hour warranty. You want a program. So I know how to design those, and we can bring in contractors and help you through, let's hire the right person to do this to maintain the roof, so you guys don't have to deal with this kind of stuff going forward.
Okay. So, just to kind of wrap it up, what makes us the right team for our school district? So we have the experience, we have the client base, we don't market. I highly encourage you to contact any of the references that we provided. We know the process, we know the players, so this is really lending itself to a design build delivery model. We know the prominent design builders in the state of Colorado. There's a little bit of a time crunch because there's $4.5–5 billion in construction with K-12 rolling out that they're gonna get gobbled up here pretty quick, but still ahead of the game. So we know the players, and then with Greg, we also know the workforce, the work pool, the labor, the lead times. I'm a father of 2 kids, husband, Matt is as well. We're parents, we're in your community, we're about 78 miles west in Windsor, but we come out here quite a bit. With that, I'd like to open it up for any questions, and if you don't have any, I've got quite a few that I'd like to ask.
We do have some questions. We have some interview questions on hand.
Please.
To you, and then the board's just gonna ask a series of questions, and then afterwards, there'll be an opportunity for you to ask questions
Absolutely.
as well. So the board's gonna go around the room and just ask these questions.
Okay.
If I could have this copy back when you're done. Mr. Chair?
Thank you guys for coming out. Can you describe how you would assist us in the procurement and selection of contractors, architects, and other consultants or vendors? How will you help us to make the best decisions for our needs?
Sure, and I'm gonna quarterback the majority of these. I'll punt them off to the responsible party, just an FYI. Some people don't like hearing me talk so much, but, yeah, so like I said, this really lends itself to a design build delivery model, given the timeline that you've got. Heart's not set on that, we can definitely discuss different options, but just outwardly looking in, that looks like it works. We've got a robust design build solicitation process. Something that I want to get out and make clear right now is we don't choose the contractor. That is 100% in your laps. What we do is solicit it, evaluate those proposals, just like you did with us, and check to make sure the proposal checked all the boxes and how well they answered it from an objective-only perspective. And a very detailed summary of that, we present it to you. Here's our grading rubric from an objective perspective. Here's their pricing. A, B, C, D, E, A, B, C, D, E. Do you have any questions? How can we facilitate this selection? We've worked with them all. We've had good projects with them all, and we've had bad projects with them all. So it's not like we prefer one contractor over another. And all of that subjective information, we don't provide to you.
Great, question number 2.
Okay.
What specifically is your process for tracking and managing the project budget and schedule within the project insurance claim parameters?
Absolutely. So Matt Long will be heavily involved in this, as will Matt Little. We use budget forecast, B4C, you saw there. It's a very agile system. Up until about 5 years ago, we used a series of Excel spreadsheets linked together to track budgets, and that's what the tools we had, and that's what we did. We merged with Answer Advisory 4 or 5 years ago and said, hey, we got this budget forecast. This is pretty sharp, and it took a little bit for us to learn, but the capability of it to provide an instant snapshot of where your budget is phenomenal. So, I mean, we can easily do that. You can tailor hundreds of reports out of it, you know, whatever information you want to see. You can see projected, actual outlays, projected outlays. You can see we document PRs, CORs, actual change orders. So you're not just seeing an actual snapshot. You could do what's the worst case scenario if this change order happens to go through, or even if this, it's robust. Along those same lines, though, is tracking critical path for the contractor. And that's a little bit of what I was talking about with, we provide contract admin. Contractors despise providing a detailed schedule, especially that with critical path. That's the only way you can enforce a contract. So day one, getting that critical path contract in place, and then following it throughout the project. You know, there's a storm, contractors dried in, but they're not able to, lay on it. Well, you didn't mark that on your critical path, and you could have been working elsewhere in the building. Doesn't sound like a storm delay to me. Vice versa, we're not here to beat contractors over the head. These are our neighbors, these are people in the industry. Being fair and understanding their perspective, and if they have a proper point, we want to acknowledge that.
Thank you.
I believe there's gonna be a little bit of redundancy here, so mitigate that appropriately, because we developed these questions ahead of your presentation, but what is your background and how does that give you a broad knowledge base of the design, construction, and operations of K-12 schools? And more specifically, do you have any specific experiences dealing with insurance remediation projects?
Absolutely. So I won't go through our background. Hopefully everyone's got that. We've pushed it enough. Specifically, yes. Matt Little, you want to talk about Denver housing and that insurance claim?
Yeah, you bet. So the project Zach's referring to is a specific insurance claim that we were brought on board for. The Denver Rescue Mission had a loss on a top floor of one of their facilities. Fire sprinkler burst, a 4-inch water sprinkler line, flooded the whole facility, and we ended up having to come in and assist with remediation, specifically asbestos that was throughout the whole facility. So we assisted the insurance company and the owner with bringing on a contractor who could handle the work, and then assessing the schedule and the repairs. The insurance company brought on their own environmental consultant and project manager to assess how we were performing. They had no complaints on how we were performing, and we performed everything up to standard with how they want to see things. We managed expenses and reviewed the contractor submittals and claims for viability with the actual claim that happened. And we were able to work with the insurance company to reduce that amount that they were claiming because some of it was invalid.
And that led to a significant amount of more work at other locations, right?
Correct.
When conflicts arise between schedule, budget, and quality, do you have some examples of how you would respond?
Sure. So I hope I didn't sound too abrupt earlier with enforcing the contract and establishing critical path. And I do want to acknowledge that these people have families and jobs and obligations, and ensuring what's fair is fair. That's our primary concern, obviously representing your interests, but we never want to put an honest person out of business because of some unfortunate circumstances. So, your interests and then theirs. However, that's why you have a news rep. There's always going to be conflicts, right? So the contract's contract, black and white. I guess the best way to say this is the project team and instilling a common goal. So a poorly run project, team members are out for their own. You got a contractor that wants to make their nut, an architect that wants to make a name for themselves and or design a pretty building, and an owner's rep that's scrambling to try and keep all the pieces together. During the solicitation, you really want to put together a team that their success is defined by project success. So once you have everyone working towards a common goal, all these little scuff-ups, disagreements, you're able to work together and come to a common solution. I'd like to think that we're pretty good at that.
Thank you.
Describe your communication style and method and typical frequency of communication with the owner, district, community, and other stakeholders in the project.
Matt, you want to run through that? You kind of touched on it already.
Want the engineer to talk again? I believe communication needs to happen frequently and often, but it doesn't need to be overbearing. It needs to be clear and concise. We need to let the affected parties know what's going on if a situation arises. Like I was saying with the weekly reports and the monthly reports, I like to stay in communication with my owner at all times. I like to let them know what is going on with the project, where things are at. If they have questions, that I'm always readily available to answer them. I think the community and the stakeholders are the ones in the community that are gonna use these facilities, so it's important to let them know where everything's at and where everything's going. I don't think you keep anybody in the dark. Nothing ever happens if you're not upfront and honest with the way something's going. And sometimes you have hard conversations, but they're the best ones because they know you're on their side and you're there to get things done for them.
So, like Matt said, absolute transparency, weekly progress reports, contractor OACs, and then with your BEST grant, there's a monthly progress report requirement that Matt talked about a little bit earlier. Of course, we'll be generating that, submitting it to the BEST program.
In the past, in what ways have you adapted to accommodate the management styles or personalities of different owners, districts, or consultants?
I got a great story for this. I was working down in Elbert. I don't know how familiar you are with Elbert, but we were doing a PK-12 down there, and we were meeting with the DAG, the Design Advocacy Group. At the end of the project, it looked like we were going to have about $350,000 that we needed to spend. The district desperately needed a maintenance facility for their buses. I was pretty new to the game and wanted to bulldog my way into, we're gonna have the architect design this building. We're gonna have a grease trap, we're gonna have outlets on these walls, we're gonna, and there was a board member that was getting pretty disgruntled with me. And finally he stood up and stopped me. And because as I was talking about this, the cost ticker was going up. He stopped me, pointed at me and said, give me 4 walls, a ceiling, and a shitter in the corner. And I had to take a step back and realize that I had never taken into account what he actually wanted. I was working towards what I thought would be a good project. So I've carried that with me. I mean, that was 12 years ago. And I think about it often. Understanding you, the owner.
What concerns, if any, do you have about our project from what you've seen so far, particularly in terms of schedule or budget? I opened up the door.
You did. You want to talk about it now or ask questions afterwards? I guess I do, let's talk about it after, but specifically, is the funding in place? Is a budget set by your insurance? Is that the end of it, or do you have supplemental money to fund it? How dogmatic are you on the 2-year schedule, or on a 1-year schedule, or an August 2025 schedule? I'll rip the Band-Aid right now. I don't think it's feasible. We could get a roof on the buildings. That could happen. Greg has already kind of reached out to some prominent contractors, and some of them do still have capacity. We could get a design in place quick, fast, and a hurry, but especially with the BEST grant and HVAC that you just got, plus touching siding, plus replacing windows, there's no way to make that, just with window and siding lead times by August 2025. We could get a roof on the building. August 2026, you're gonna be coming back and putting holes through that brand new roof for your HVAC, MEP, tying in your building envelope and siding. You never wanna, as much as you can avoid it, you never wanna put a hole in a brand new roof. So, I'd love to talk more about that. I also have a question regarding, it appears on the walk, there's some substandard work that has been applied to date. Is that part of this contract, evaluating that substandard work and repair replacing it? And lastly, when are you making your decision?
That's a good question.
So let's talk about that more once we run through your questions.
Okay.
All right. To be continued on that one. Number 8, what differentiates your firm from the other that we are interviewing?
Well, a very smart person told me to never talk poorly about your competitors, so I'll try and keep my mouth closed with that perspective and just talk about us. I try and emphasize that we are homegrown, and we don't win projects and hire. I'm the throat to choke throughout this entire project. I've been here for 12 years, Matt has been here for 10. There's lots of people that are owners reps, and that's fine, and a lot of them are capable. I'd like to think that we're different because of the way that we run our business.
Thank you.
As the owner's rep, will you assume the responsibility of overseeing that all necessary project bonding and permitting is complete for the district? And does your firm currently maintain errors and omissions insurance?
We do. We're responsible for putting that in the solicitation and evaluating the contractor has that, has correct insurance, has bonding capacity. That's a discussion we should have, is do you actually want them bonded or not? I would recommend so. Some owners don't want it because that's a cost that's pretty much just marked up and passed directly through to the owner. That said, I recommend bonding. This question, I'm not sure it's very applicable quite to us, as we won't be performing any actual design. As an owner's rep, we don't design anything, we don't build anything. We solicit, manage, and get people paid.
Okay, both Matt's already addressed this, but do you have any experience utilizing blended funds to get maximum financial efficiencies for our school district? The funds I'd be talking about in this situation would be insurance funds and best grant funds.
Yeah, I hope we touched on it,
Yeah.
or satisfied it. It's all about setting up the project and getting in front of that information. I once ran a project that was funded out of a bond, a mill levy, a DOLA grant, a Daniels Fund grant, and a GOCO grant. Try unraveling those funding sources from one design build contract. We do have
Excel
experience
spreadsheet.
with it. Yeah. We do have experience with it, absolutely. And you bring up a good point here that I forgot to mention when you asked the questions. One of them, where I was talking about a August 25 versus 26 schedule, is you're gonna have multiple mobilizations as well with that. So there's fees, there's general conditions, they all stack up. It will be financially beneficial to do the entire thing properly planned in summer of 26. I don't know if that's possible, let's talk about it more. But
What areas of owners' representation services would you say are currently your strongest and weakest? How will you compensate for those weaker areas?
well, I don't like the word weak, but I would say Greg being here demonstrates not something that we're nervous about. I mean, your architect is gonna have an obligation to provide CA and inspection on your roof. We will be accompanying them, but seeing the holes that Greg has found on other projects, is a no-brainer for us, to help provide CA, with the actual roofing install. Not to mention, his ability to, his familiarity with the Xactimate and, ability to negotiate, with the insurance provider.
Your RFQ submittal may have addressed this, but could you explain your proposed project team structure for this project and the team's members' projected workload? How will you ensure availability of the identified primary point of contact?
Sure. So, I should probably, would you mind giving this to Superintendent Cody? Should give that to you at the beginning. That's our fee proposal. I broke it out by week and month over a 2-year schedule. It has our hourly obligations. Without being able to demonstrate it, roughly I'm 5 hours a week through the duration of the project. Now, Little's 8 hours a week through the duration of the project. Greg ramps up from 12 for the first 3 months of the project, then cools down, and then once install begins, he goes back to 8, I believe. Matt Long will be at 4 hours a week for the duration of the project. I've also provided our billing unit rates in there. And I have copies if you'd like to circulate.
Yes, please.
Oh, I wasn't sure how formal you wanted to be with the opening of the envelope. One thing I do ask, if you wouldn't mind, technically you own this documentation, but if you wouldn't share it with us, I'd greatly appreciate it. Before we run away with this, I want to note, what I've provided here is based off of an August 2026 schedule. I have an asterisk at the bottom, that perfectly fine amending this accordingly by a T&M or fee adjustment if that schedule went forward, or if you wanted to try and back everything into an August 2025.
How does travel time affect the time that your crew would be here?
We're in Windsor. Took us an hour and 19 minutes today. It's 78 miles. Matt Long is currently working on multiple projects in Weld District 6, Greeley, and Matt is wrapping up Johnstown. We're local-ish. We're not down in Denver. We're not down in the Springs. We're not on the west side.
I've worked with all your neighbors. I've worked with Weldon Valley and Fort Morgan, got some Holyoke work. I'm familiar with the drive.
Okay.
And we're starting up a project in Kersey, just down the road.
Okay, we have a handful more questions for you.
Sure.
How will your firm go about providing necessary information and recommendations for this board to make sound decisions of this type? I know you touched on that a little bit as well.
Touched on it, and really, we always want to be objective. We never want to be, say, I'm not going to talk poorly, so I'll talk positively. Say we had an absolutely phenomenal project with a contractor, and boy, they'd be perfect for this, and I want to get them on this. That's not information that I want to provide to you. I want you to be making your own assessments. I want to judge objectively their submittal, their work history, us calling their references, providing you a summation of those references. But ultimately, I don't want me to be influencing you. In other words, I don't want to bias your decision.
So is there a piece in your rubric that would provide for some of that?
Absolutely. Reference checks, bonding capacity, how they answered the RFQ, total project values completed to date, if they have repeat customers or repeat clients, their experience within the K-12 market, their experience within a rural K-12 market, their experience with storm damage. A lot of the same questions you're asking, just write the responses for you. We put it together. And grade them according to that objective data.
Discuss one process or approach you have changed or improved upon in the last few years as a result of a negative project experience.
Ask me. I think I already grabbed it a little bit. Budget forecast has been a real improvement for us, and thus a time saver for our client. Like I said, we had about for every division, so up to 26 divisions on Excel spreadsheets tab that we track, and it worked. It was a competent system, but when we discovered budget forecast, that, hey, this is $49 a month, and all of a sudden I can instantly generate reports that would have taken me 6 hours to put together for a client or for BEST or something like that in the past. Well, I mean, that's 6 hours that I didn't just bill to the client. So I would say that was a learning process, and felt a little bit ashamed that we didn't pull the trigger on that a lot sooner.
How do you ensure that all costs associated with our project are appropriate and determine when to release contingencies?
That's a tough one. All projects are gonna have a change order. You hit a GMP, if you're in design builder, CMGC, and you have a GMP, that's great. There's always gonna be some sort of unforeseen circumstance that no one can come up with. That's a valid change order for a contractor. For that, you wanna maintain contingency. Contractor's gonna have contractor contingency for those reasons, but we also maintain owner contingency. With a project like this, your risk is relatively low relative to, say, a ground-up build, like brush secondary, where you had geotech, survey, platting it, environmental concerns, weather concerns, things that you maintain contingencies like that. But really, walking through the contractor's contingency, at SD, they're gonna be maintaining 20%. They're gonna wanna maintain that. You don't need 20%, guys. Let's take it down. DDs, get them down to 10%. At 75% CDs, okay, what's gonna be our actual contingency number? 5%? Yep, I'm good with that. That's an appropriate number. That money comes back to the owner. You've got to formally document how you're spending that number. That's not just a bonus for you. And that's part of our job, is evaluating how those contingencies are spent. Contractor contingency is unique because if you get into, say, a design build agreement, you're at a GMP, contractor has the duty to inform you that they are going to spend contractor contingency. As the owner and owner's rep, we do have the authority to say no. The second that you say no, you're kicking yourself out of the GMP agreement, which is the whole point of why we're doing this. So navigating that can be difficult. Essentially, evaluating those contingency adds from the contractor. All right, show me your backup. For lack of a better word, pull your pants down. Show me. Where's the money going? And that's our job.
Okay, with even the best team, there will likely be issues in the 1 to 2 years after completion that will need attention from busy vendors. How do you manage follow-up and warranty phase services for us and hold vendors accountable for performance after all parties have been paid in full? Use examples from recent experience, please.
This is great. Greg, can you touch on the warranty issue that we just hit at Mapleton with Carlisle roof?
You talking about the metal?
Yeah, well, the edge-to-edge failure.
Yeah, so out there, I came in later in the design process, and we ended up upgrading the roof to, again, a 30-year, I think it was a 2-inch hail, 90-mile-per-hour roof. The architect had just spec'd a standard, spec for a roof. So we were able to do that, and you can do that and not spend any more money. So then you have the warranty, and the way that, at least in the roofing world, because walls and stuff are different, but in roofing right now, you have a 2-year contractor warranty. After the 2 years, then it goes to the manufacturer. So the manufacturer that you end up using is very important. it means a lot. There's a lot of people that don't believe in warranties, it's kind of the old school way to think. But in the roofing world now, there's so much money behind those warranties and those programs that, you know, after that 2 years is up, the rest of that warranty, the manufacturer's on the hook for it. So the way you document it, the way you have leaks, you wanna get on a maintenance program, you wanna have a good roofing contractor on call that's gonna service you. But you call the manufacturer, they send them out, and depending on what kind of warranty you buy, it can be, you can buy warranties that have like 32-hour accidental puncture, which means every year you get 32 hours of any kind of problem, whether it's a detail that failed or somebody dropped something to the roof, it's covered. And if you build the warranties correctly and you maintain them and you report correctly, all of roofing wise can be covered. And a lot of that's missed in the construction process, so anyway, try to work through those.
So, this is where,
Oh, and then the metal piece, you know, so the first thing that fails in a roof is the edge metal. It gets pulled off, takes the rest of the roof with it. So you can buy warranties where the edge metal is included in the roof warranty. It has to be installed, it's gotta be done, you know, bought certain products and ES1 ratings and that sort of thing. But if you put all that in the spec, make sure that the contractor is including that as part of your warranty. You want everything included, so.
that's in the RFC process. I submitted an RFC. Does the district expect a 2-year labor, 30-year manufacturer warranty? And the response was yes. We can facilitate that through the architect.
Great, now we're open to your questions.
Okay, well, I mean,
Let's start with the ones that you asked a moment ago.
please, I'm eating into a lot of your time, so feel free to tell me to get out of here. But I do want to know your collective thoughts on getting this in place by August 2025. It could really influence, I don't think it's viable. Are you handcuffed by a window of arbitrage by the insurance company? Does this have to be in by 2025 to get your actual cash value or depreciated value?
No.
Great.
But I think it's fair to say that we are on a June of '25 deadline for a 2-year period that comes with some requirements
Sure.
to position appropriately with the insurance company to be able to complete construction and have proper claim settlement and stuff.
That's where I was
Into the
going.
future.
So,
For replacement cost value,
Right.
correct.
okay.
Could be a tolling agreement, those are conversations yet to be had.
Okay. How does the district feel about a 2026 install and trying to pursue those conversations with the provider?
Maybe
We've talked about the idea of, that it doesn't make sense to go put brand new roofs up there and then slam brand new HVAC on top of it.
Yes.
We've had those discussions. But, I mean, we'd lean on you guys pretty heavily on what a recommendation is there, you know?
Well, recommendation would be August 2026. Now, of course, we'll represent you as best as possible, and we're not stuck in the mud. And you tell us what to do. But our best informed recommendation is it's going to be a tough sledding hitting that, and potentially wasteful through multiple mobilizations. That said, there are obligations to where the money's coming from, and we need to be aware of that. So, sounds like there's quite a bit more discussion that needs to be had with your owner's rep. I would ask that whoever you select as an owner's rep, you ask that question, because it's a tough one.
You guys had the opportunity to walk the buildings,
Mm-hmm.
and I guess my primary concern is, you have to understand that a project of this magnitude and a timeline of this summer is challenging at best, right? I guess my concern lies of having complete confidence that, damage has been properly mitigated to extend that completion timeline out, and we're not incurring additional, water damage, in the interior of any of our buildings, and that's all satisfied. And so when we talk about potential nows and laters, for lack of a better term, for me, that's one that I still haven't, I guess, become completely comfortable with, that because of the circumstances leading up to this point, that I'm really confident that our buildings are secure and that our roofs aren't leaking anywhere, and things of that nature. So I think that's, for me at least, that's probably an element when we talk about what needs to be done now, just like what needs to be done in association with the insurance claim and stuff, and so.
How much future damage from ceiling tiles? Jamie mentioned that gym floor took a little bit of a hit and was cupping, but seems to be.
Well, no, it was covered, but we did have some water on there, and it might be part of, that's still in the discussion too, of what the magnitude of that is, and is it part of that or not? So, yeah.
And a lot of that goes into your existing assessment, which I had asked about the Tremaine assessment. Obviously, we haven't seen that yet, so don't really know the full extent. But yeah, I see waiting another year, you got another winter, standing water on there. Yeah, you're gonna have leaking tiles and buckets and hallways.
Yeah, the other thing to think about is, depending on the amount of money you're getting and what kind of roof you want, and what condition your insulation is currently. Like if you have multiple leaks and the insulation is getting saturated, obviously you can't reuse that. But if, I haven't seen any of, I haven't been on any of the roofs, so I don't know what they look like. But if the insulation's good, you can reuse it. Like if it's dry and it's there, you can reuse it, and build a system around that, save a lot of money.
And I can say that the negotiations between insurance and Tremaine are still in place. That's
Good.
what is making it tricky on the selection process of an owner's rep and so
Sure.
forth, right? We did get confirmation today that the secondary campus roof in its totality is part of that. So that is included.
New and old.
So completely, so an additional $4.3 million in insurance funds, or ACV, was approved today by the insurance company.
Good.
But the negotiations are still in process. Unfortunately, we wish it was settled.
I have a question in regards to the mobilization. Would we be treating each building separately? Or when you're talking about mobilizing roofers, are you saying we're mobilizing for the entire district at once, then HVAC? Or would we do building, can we segment that into specific buildings? Maybe we prioritize one building for summer of '25 that's got maybe the worst potential for continued damage.
This one? That roof is soft.
So that's what I'm asking, is
Sure.
is there savings in mobilizing construction forces by segmenting buildings? Or are we better off mobilizing to roof the entire thing at the same time? What was your vision there?
Sure. Identify a critical path, low-hanging fruit that you can attack perhaps this summer. Absolutely. Is there a weatherproofing solution that we could do in the interim, or is there a whole roof that we can capture? There's a lot of, between all the buildings and now with the BEST grant, there's a lot of cats that are gonna be hurting, and I have a feeling that that I understand. I've watched some of your board meetings, that there was a previous entity that was trying to assist you and perhaps not hurting all those cats appropriately. With this point, or where I'm going is, I've mentioned a couple times, this project lends itself well to design build. Having one architect so that you have the same exact product, the same exact specification going in on all of your roofs. Same exact architect handling your HVAC and MEP, and the same general contractor. Now, they may have multiple roofers, and they likely will. There's no way one roofer's gonna do all these in 2.5, 3 months. But that avoids this, when during commissioning, building envelope's not passing, or there's a leak around the new curb that we installed for that HVAC penthouse. That all falls into one person's lap, the architect, general contractor. Resolve it. It's definitely possible to piecemeal the project, but I guess the way I see that is that lends itself to that many more points of failure.
Okay.
And like from a workload standpoint, I just bid one out a week or two ago. That was a $4 million project. And if you get it out, early enough, and they keep coming earlier and earlier, but you can sign up the right contractors, you can break that, one GC can break those projects up and everybody get their work done. There's a lot going on, especially if you're doing curbs and units and everything else, trying to work all that together, but if you have enough planning in front and you got the right contractors on board, and it can happen. But trying to force it right now, if you're gonna go through the design process and you're not gonna get anything out until March or April, there's been a ton of projects that have already bid. A lot of the big guys are already signed up on jobs. So you're gonna end up with a contractor, you'll get it done, and it'll probably, could be a good product too. But you definitely want a lot of oversight if you're gonna use some of the contractors that are out there.
Well, specifically, because we have this instance where there's a potential storm damage claim on HVAC components at Thompson, and we have a proposed BEST project for HVAC at Thompson.
Right.
Is it logical to think that, okay, no, it's not feasible to do this building and secondary campus in Beaver Valley and Thompson summer of 2025, but if all those pieces for Thompson come together, is it potentially feasible to say, yeah, we're gonna do this HVAC project at Thompson, and it's got a roof, and it's got the insurance claim element in the roof, but that can possibly be done summer of 2025, and we get through that project, and are continuing to work towards completion of the others
Packing them all
in
together.
26. Is that even realistic, or?
So, great idea, pack them all together, that's what I'm talking about, getting everything under one roof. There's no way you hit summer 2025 with, I understand it's a chiller for Thompson. Rooftop units, you're looking at 8 months to a year from ordering it before it even lands. So, just the lead time itself isn't feasible. Best, you've got a 2-year arbitrage, so you're well within the best schedule, before you have to burn that money. But, summer 2025 is rough.
And like you said, from a roofing perspective, and I don't know the different buildings, but if there is a smaller building and you wanted to do one of them, you could do that. I wouldn't do it if you're gonna replace units.
Is this fee schedule you provided just inclusive of the scope of the storm damage work, or would this be
That
inclusive?
includes best.
Includes
This-
both?
Yep.
And let me clarify, if you look down below, it's based on we just did a number because we're still in the middle of assessments, right, and estimations. So it's based on that $20 million total project cost, just to have a number to work with. We don't know what that final number will be,
It's
because
an
it's still
assumption
negotiations.
I made based off of, you've got approximately $10 million in roofs, you've got $5 million in best grant, assume another $5 million between siding, windows, awning, whatever happens, assuming roughly a $20 million project. That doesn't include, if the rest of your rooftop units need to be replaced, which I think you had talked a little bit about, there was an assessor thinking maybe they could comb them out, maybe they couldn't.
Well, they talked about that, but the way we're leaning now is I think they're all saying that they think it's gonna be probably replacement, because even they talked about, you know, skinning things on, and then you get to the cost to where it's smarter just to put new ones on there. And
Right.
so, I mean, I can't tell you 100% sure the way that'll work out through the insurance, but.
I don't remember those Daikin units there.
We got Dyken at the high school, and then, is it York? I think the other ones, a lot of them are York, aren't they? I'm pretty sure, or.
I think there's several flavors.
I have a whole rundown here if you want
Yeah,
a whole
it's-
rundown.
You got.
There's
yeah,
like
we-
6
we
different
drove
brands
down,
of
but
rooftop units on different things, I think.
Yeah,
So
but-
obviously you have an expert in the roofing world.
Mhm.
Who comes in when we start talking about envelopes and siding and windows and things of that nature? Is that a
Architect?
different person that's in your?
No, not with us. That's all underneath the architect contractor, underneath the design builder. What we would solicit with you, especially with the rooftop units going, is a commissioning agent. A commissioning agent would be a prime contract underneath school district. We would obviously handle that solicitation just like the GC, and manage that contract for you. But yeah, you need a commissioning agent for building envelope.
What is a commissioning agent?
Uh,
What do they do?
It's funny that you ask. So they really became prevalent about 20 years ago. Previously, you have a mechanical, electrical, plumbing install. You've got a rooftop unit and specific controls, you know, if you like Johnson controls or whatever district prefers. Architect designs it, contractor installs it, walks away. 2 months later, teachers are complaining about being cold, being hot, roofs, or, you know, building not breathing, et cetera. So commissioning agents really kind of found their niche, really serving like Greg, providing a third-party QA, QC against the design that the architect has and the install that the contractor has done. It used to be really a niche. Like I said, we did the first BEST grant back in '08. We hired a commissioning agent. That went so well that BEST now requires a commissioning agent on all BEST projects. You can't get away without one, similar to the required owner's rep. So you ask, why do we need a commissioning agent when we've got an architect and a mechanical contractor that put together this design? And I would say it's the same reason we have Greg, is they're a specialist that finds holes and gaps and makes sure things function properly.
And I can do the enclosure piece, I just, like at the Windsor schools, like they're building 8 new schools and we're doing 3 re-roofs. So I'm doing all the wall systems from basically the waterproofing foundation all the way, all the metal wall panels and mainly I'm looking at flashings, like how are your openings tied in to, you know, your brick veneer and middle panels and all that kind of stuff, so, can do any of the wall stuff as well. But yeah, the commissioning agents, like they spend a lot of time on the mechanical side, which I have no idea what they do when they, but sometimes they'll bring me in again as a sub to them to help them with the enclosure stuff.
And ideally, we're bringing on the commissioning agent during the design, so similar to Greg, they can go through and review the design while we're doing it and give feedback on what will work, what won't work. And then they're involved on the tail end too. They're familiar with the design, they can provide the testing and balancing and quality control checks that you need to make sure your building's running smoothly.
Just as a clarification, so rooftop units are Beaver Valley, it's Dakin, secondary campus is York, Thompson, it's Magic Air. Controls are Johnson at Thompson, CSI at BSC, and ATS at Beaver Valley. I had to write it down.
I use an Excel sheet. I work with the 27J bond program and District 6. I've actually got to work with one of my coworkers that does all the warranty stuff. So he's been able to show me his spreadsheet and how to track it and then take your communication and also communicate with the vendors, do the 11-month blocks and 23-month blocks to make sure that everything's being taken care of, or else it goes to that manufacturer point. Because we ran into things
And that's something you guys come back and do?
Yeah.
11-month, 23-month locks.
Any remaining questions, board? Any remaining questions for the board?
When are you making your decision?
It's up to the board,
Okay.
right? They could make a decision tonight. Also, they could wait until negotiations are done.
Sure.
Because that's gonna be up to them. But right now, we had hoped negotiations would be closer to finished or finished by now, but they're not.
Some critical information for wherever your OR is.
Exactly, so for that OR contract, we need that information, right? So, I wouldn't be surprised, it's up to them, I wouldn't be surprised if they table that decision tonight.
Sure.
Until those negotiations are done, and then once the negotiations are done, they'll determine this is what the project will entail, this is what we want done.
Okay.
And then notify their selection and ask for a contract to be crafted.
Great.
Anything to add there? I mean, you could change that, that's.
Well, I will ask, just ask, because we're here having an open conversation about this. We're certainly not the only project that you guys are looking at and within the timeline and scope and
Sure.
different things. So do we need to be aware of any time constraints that you all are under for workload?
So, we got, in this last bond cycle, we were awarded 300 plus at Douglas County. We were awarded 834 at Adams 12 and roughly 140 at Adams 14. We're managing that with a staff of approximately 26. And honestly, this is a project that we probably wouldn't go after. To talk to everyone here, I have an existing relationship with Bryce and Miller. When I saw brush hit, it's something that I wanted to pursue, and that's why we're going after it.
Right, any remaining questions?
And Zach's brother was a pretty good football player at Brush.
I
Gene skipped
appreciate
me.
your brush roots. All right.
Thank you guys very much.
Thanks a lot.
Appreciate you coming out.
Appreciate your
Guys,
time.
great presentation.
It's late. Thank you for your time.
Thanks for coming out.
Thank you.
Good meeting you. Hopefully we made your decision tough one.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, I'm good, it'll be coming out.
Thank you.
Yep. Thanks for coming out. You got all your stuff?
Yeah, I'm cool. Slowly.
You know where it is if you lost it. Thank
Good
you.
to meet you. Might have, yeah.
Thanks for coming out.
Thanks for coming out.
Absolutely. David, good to see you again.
Yeah, you too, thanks, man.
Absolutely. So great, thanks again.
Okay.
We'll walk.
We're good, thank you.
You wanted that back, didn't you?
Yes, please, thank you. Appreciate it.
And I know it's common manners to say, no, thank you to water, but you don't mind to talk to water. I'm gonna take out.
Absolutely, it's not common manners, they're there for you, so please do. Safe travel.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, appreciate that.
Of course. I got a stack of cards here for you
Feel
guys
free to
too.
go right ahead and pass them out, or I can.
All right, yeah, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Zach.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Yeah, we're.
I got one, I'll take
Oh,
that.
that's right. You did one last time, that's right.
Thank you, Sean.
So I have a little mouse here, so can I plug this thing into your computer
Absolutely.
and try to, so you don't have to.
I think that would
bother
be
with
best, so
messing
that
with
I don't
slides.
mess with it. All right, if you wanna check and make sure it works.
Maybe I'm out of range.
I saw it sliding.
There's
There it is.
Lily.
I think that was me.
Oh, maybe it is.
Oh.
Our director of technology is here, so he's right behind you. I'll move out of the way.
Maybe let's just see if I come closer. If it works. Maybe I'm just out of range. Oh yeah, it must have been. Needs no battery or something. Okay.
You're welcome to stand over here, or we can bring this table closer, or that one.
Okay.
See if that works. How about that? See if that will work.
Sure. Might be low on battery or something.
I just wasn't the last time, but they're welcome to. I tried to switch. I don't know. I can go see.
Okay. Double A in there by chance?
We used to have a keyboard with a track.
What if you wheel that you've got, it's on wheels, wheel it right up there where you were?
That's what I'm thinking too. Just put this over here. Maybe like that, is that good? And see if it'll, you can run it from there. There you go.
There we go.
There we go. Throw a chair right here.
You're problem solving.
Try my best not to.
If there's a will, there's a
Bad
way,
pattern, you guys
right?
here.
No, you're fine.
Name stuff, so maybe we can put some.
Mike is the advertiser, writes out the fairgrounds, work for visual wildlife. Visual wildlife.
Is there a full screen mode on this? Actually. Alright, I guess we'll just go with that. So, okay, well, thank you everybody for having us, or having me tonight. Appreciate you guys taking time out of your day to allow us to come in and present ourselves here and our qualifications for the project.
My name is Robert Piani. I'm the Vice President of Architectural Services for Amtech. I also am the General Manager of our firm here in Denver, or Colorado area. I'm going to start by just giving you a little background on Amtech. We're a full-service architectural engineering firm that specializes in building envelope roofing consulting. Roof consulting is about 90% of what we do, with windows, walls, foundations. Structural repairs is kind of the other remaining 10%. We've been providing trusted solutions since 1982. And back in 2017, we merged with Foothills Roof Services, who's been around the Denver, Colorado market since 1994. We've got over 25 employees in 7 different offices over the nation. And you know, roof consulting, building envelope is what we do. It's what we do every single day. Project scope like you guys have here is something that's very common to our everyday work life, and you know, we have very good confidence that we can provide the best solutions for you guys. Get too far away from my, here we go. So this next slide, trying to see if I can do a, because there's no full screen option here. Anyways, this is to kind of show our extensive local experience around Colorado area. And, you know, I won't go through every one of these specific projects or clients, but I really just want to kind of show just
Let's make this a little less intimate.
Okay, I'm giving you this back.
Alright. Do you know if there's a full screen option on this? I'm actually not familiar with this.
Is this slides?
No,
Or-
it's a PDF.
Yeah, okay. Represent mode? Don't know.
View, I can do fit to width, but usually there's a full screen option, but I guess I'm just not familiar. Oh, here we go.
Says you're there.
All right, we'll go with that.
I wonder if I can reshrink this. I'm still in your cursor for just a second. Thought maybe I could make this.
If there's an arrow in the top left corner by your thumbnails, the little arrow.
This one.
Yep.
Oh, cool.
Look at Mr. Chard.
Thank you. This is really just to show kind of our local experience here in the Front Range and in the Colorado area. I won't go through every one of these projects. I'll go through some more specific projects in a minute that I think are applicable to the services that we've been providing if awarded. This is more just to show our typical clientele, and what I think is important to note here is, you know, these are clients much like Brush School District, which have a campus full of buildings and assets, kind of more than one. Those are the typical partners that we try to do work with, folks that we can build relationships with over time that have multiple assets that we can help out. Maybe just not on one project, but on multiple over time. So, yeah, as you can see, we've done work with lots of local school districts, both close and far from Denver, and yeah, we would be very happy to work with Brush. Next up, I want to just kind of introduce you to our local team here and some of our leaders. Truly successful projects are rarely the result of a single hand and a single voice. At Amtech, we're passionate collaborators and hold the belief that the best outcomes are the result of a coordinated team. And those leaders in our team, you know, myself, Robert Piani, I'm a licensed architect here in Colorado as well as in Texas. I've got experience on a wide range of architectural projects, as well as, you know, facilitating and guiding the design process through construction and kind of collaborating with stakeholders as well. Next up, we have Sarah Peterson, who is a professional engineer in Colorado, Florida, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, as well as Texas. She's got great experience working in facility networks, building repair, restoration design, and engineering. Her design and technical support on various civil projects and structural engineering has been paramount to our success over the years. The next up is Daniel Dimlin. He's a registered roof observer and our production manager. He manages that production and design documentation. And he's got a sharp eye for quality design based on understanding of project constraints, coupled with the ability to create legible documents that are both watertight and constructible. And then lastly, of our local team that I wanted to highlight is Richard Claypool. He's kind of our QA, QC roofing guru. He doesn't have any of the fancy acronyms behind his name, but he's been working in the roofing industry for over 40 years now. And he's been just a great support to the team, making sure that, we're doing the, constructible details. And he's a lot of times the guy in the field who's managing expectations with that contractor, making sure that they're meeting the requirements of our project documents. The next slide here is just to show that our strong local team has support with national experience with folks all over the country. We've got in-house licensed professionals, architects, engineers, registered roof and wall consultants, and project management professionals. We've got an in-house engineering and specifically structural assessment team that can kind of understand the specifics that can come up with roof and wall projects like you guys have going on here, as well as architectural building envelope support all over. People who have kind of seen all walks of life in different projects having to do very similar services that you guys would require on these projects. And next, instead of kind of continuing to kind of bolster the experience of our team, I'd rather show you guys some specific projects that I think are applicable and similar to some of the stuff that you guys have going on out here. I think that these projects speak volumes to our ability to provide clients with good services. And the first up here would be the University of Colorado Boulder, where we've done work on many of the student housing, building envelope, and roof consulting for all these different housing units. There's Stearns West Towers, Cockrell Hall, Reed Hall, Crossman Hall, Darley North and South Towers, Libby Hall, Athens North, graduate student housing. We provided roofing repairs, brick tuck pointing, facade resealing, concrete repair, roof replacement, roof tile flashing, gutter design replacement, parapet restoration, masonry repair, as well as parapet design and window replacement. I wanted to highlight this next one, one of those projects, UCB Stearns, which is one of the taller buildings over there in Boulder, where we did a window restoration project kind of throughout all of these taller window slots throughout the building, as well as brick facade restoration. I think this is applicable because of the window project that you guys have going on here. We're not only good at designing the project, but we're going to be there for installation, making sure it gets done right. It's hard to see in that picture, but that's actually Sarah up there in that lift going up and down, making sure all the installations have met the requirements of the project. Another project, I'm going to go kind of quick through these because I have a bunch and I know we've got limited time here. Everybody would like to get on with their day probably. But next up is a 7th school capital improvement project for a bond with Cherry Creek School District. I want to highlight this one because it was for 7 different schools, a cost of $6.5 million, 3 contractors, and we're very proud to say 0 change orders, all done in over 2 summers. Most of it was done in 1 summer, but there was a phase 2 of a high school that we completed over the 2nd summer. But as you can imagine, projects that scale, that number of contractors, 0 change orders, and getting the project done and delivered in 2 months was a very hard and tall order from the school district. But we got it done, and we were able to stave off any change orders, making sure that we met the budget of the project. Castleview High School, Douglas County School District. This was a large-scale project, over 120,000 square feet of high school, and approximately a 2-month construction phase. This is all ballasted roof. We reused some of the existing insulation and fastened it down to their deck, saving them quite a bit of money over that large-scale project, as well as maintaining a 2-inch hail warranty. The project came in on time, under budget, no change orders as well. You guys have some ballasted roofs out here, we know, and so I just wanted to highlight some of that. This next project, the Community College of Colorado system, building 758, while it looks pretty normal and kind of plain Jane here, the reason I wanted to show this is because three of the existing drains were undersized for plumbing. And instead of just coming in and, saying, you know what, you gotta change the drain size and your leaders out to your storm drainage, we actually went in, did a study, understood all the sizes of the different pipes and everything, redid the drainage tributaries, added one drain right here, snaked it out a short distance, and saved them a ton of money in having to redesign that entire plumbing system. And by doing some kind of unique tributaries and some unique drain sump designs, we were able to get these projects under budget, within budget. The college system was very happy and has since invited us back out for more projects because of that. Red Rocks Community College, this one's in Lakewood, Colorado. It's a two-phase SLURF fund or federally funded project that's going to be occupied during roof replacement on phase 2. We've completed phase 1 with no issues, and phase 2 is going to be starting here in the spring. Another large-scale ballast project that I just thought was worth bringing to your attention because we've been invited back out for the second phase. Exemplary of kind of our services that our clients are happy, like to bring us back out. This Liberty Middle School project, another one for Cherry Creek School District. While it kind of looks like a pretty plain Jane, skylight here, what's unique is this used to be a big architectural feature of the school. It had 3 different skylights just like this that apparently leaked since day 1. We love coming in and fixing the fancy architectural details after the fact. It's something as an architect I kind of pride myself on. All the other engineers think I'm a dork because of it, but it's one of those things that we just really enjoy making things right. And what we did is basically severed the existing skylight right here, where you can see the difference in the color of glazing. We came back in, structurally enhanced this curve to allow for this large scale pyramid skylight, a little bit more typical of the system. Brought in this different colored glazing so they didn't have so much solar heat gain, and made this project very successful for the school. And all the while, integrating fire and life safety features like the sprinklers, energy efficient glazing, and enhanced structural design. It's hard to tell here, but these aluminum frames actually have steel inside of them because each one of these fire sprinklers have to be able to take a 200-pound weight. A guy has to be hanging from it, has to be able to hang from it when they're doing work up there. So that's all to say we provided unique engineering there just to make the solution aesthetically right for the school district. Another one for the Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment Research Laboratory building in Lowry, Colorado. This building was 100% fully occupied research facility for the state of Colorado. They had labs and offices that required interior protection from dust and debris containment. So we provided a unique suspended cover with a smart seam technology, allowing for code compliant solutions to meet NFPA 13 below the fire sprinklers. That basically was to allow not having to have full-time fire watch, which saved a tremendous amount of money on the project. And basically what happens is that system, if there's a fire, those seams just split and allow the sprinklers to function as normal. This one also required a lot of coordination with lab managers, between different testing facilities over there, kind of where we're at each day. We did that on a weekly basis, just like we would do with you guys in your school districts if you guys had occupancy in your schools during construction. Next up is the Aurora Municipal Center. This was, full design services from assessment all the way through construction. The roof replacement is complete now, about $2 million. This large scale municipal building. It's kind of their crown jewel of the city of Aurora here. Removing and replacing single ply EPDM roof membrane, while increasing insulation to meet energy requirements. Building's 5 stories tall with a parapet, with a large parapet and a screen wall system around the center roof area to work around. And this actual kind of mansard looking roof around was something like, I believe, 280 penetrations throughout the whole roof, which we came up with a unique solution for wrapping those penetrations that was both constructible and affordable for the client. We're proud of that one as a large-scale project that went very successfully. Cherry Creek School District, another large high school, just worth noting. We did this in 2 phases. It's about 160,000 square feet, a little over that. This one was unique because this old Cherry Creek School, which started, I think, about this big, had 16 different additions done to it in all walks of life of roof deck and roof types and everything from coal tar pitch to single ply roofing. All of it was removed and all completed within the 2-month duration. The second phase of this was actually 2 summers ago when we had all that crazy rain. You know, we got through this project successfully and completed on time. And yeah, another happy client here. I like to show this one, the Colorado Mental Health Institute of Fort Logan, because it is exemplary of kind of all of our good skills coming together, where we have a design from the beginning. We implement that in the construction phase. We had our structural engineers raise a lot of large-scale equipment to allow for roofing underneath some of it, to get them that and maintain a 20-year no-dollar limit warranty. We also came up against multiple issues in the field, and I love this photo right down here because it just kind of shows how our guys in the field are going to help problem solve and make sure that these issues that come up are addressed in an equitable way that's not going to cost you guys a ton of money during construction. You know, this is just an example of, I love this little picture or this little drawing down here just to kind of show how we're going to problem solve on the project site to make sure that you know, the contractor knows how to do a constructible detail. It's not going to cost you guys a ton of money. The American Heritage Center and the University of Wyoming in Laramie. This one involved design through construction and actually full-time construction monitoring. We completed site observations to review the roofing installation, confirm it meets design standards, as well as a design solution of custom dark bronze Kynar coated metal roof panels in lieu of copper due to budget constraints, over a layer of ice and water underlayment, and over a structurally insulated panel. This new roof system improved the water tightness and thermal performance of the building envelope, and you know, that's one that's highly regarded over there. This is kind of the centerpiece of their campus, and a very successful project here. A lot of unique roofing solutions. Next is the City of Aurora Justice Center, their Municipal Justice Center, which is actually right next to the Municipal Center. This one is a large-scale roof replacement for an IRMA Hydrotech waterproofing system, which is an inverted roof membrane assembly. This is where you basically put the water shedding layer at the bottom, insulation on top, and then another overburden above that. We did that with an existing solar PV integration, and no warranty issues at all there. Now the system is equipped with a specific mesh in there that allows us for electronic leak detection, so if they ever have issues, we can quickly figure out what's wrong with it. And lastly, a project that I think is very applicable to Brush's situation is this Littleton Public Schools 8-school hail insurance claim from 2022, which we're actually finishing this summer. It's 8 different schools, 7 of them are completed at this point, and we're doing the last phase of their large-scale high school this coming summer. So that was a bunch of elementary schools, a couple middle schools, and a large high school. And these are photos of them all. They're all pretty large scale, and you know, in the background you can kind of see the high school, which has a ton of mechanical and crazy detailing. Again, these projects met budget, no major change orders, as well as all meeting the constraint of a 2-month construction period for the school district, so that we didn't have to bother students while they're in session. And it was, you know, probably the reason Steve Everall gave you guys a recommendation for us to potentially come out here and submit an RFP. We worked with Steve on this one quite a bit, which I believe you guys are working with Steve as well. Working closely with Steve, again, you know, working with the insurance team, making sure that LPS got every dollar that they're entitled to from paying their expensive insurance premiums over the years. I like to throw this slide in just to make sure you guys know that we understand your project is unique. We're not gonna come here and throw a canned spec at this and just download a bunch of details from the manufacturer's website. We're gonna come here, we're gonna get our hands dirty, we're gonna open the roof up, we're gonna see what's there, and we're gonna draw unique details in our drawing package so that all the drawings and the contractors, all the contractors know what the drawings entail, the constructible details, and how they're gonna do it. You know, if that's you know, specific isometric of showing how flashing is components are taken apart with a termination bar and counter flashing, to a unique rotunda with tying into wall details, or say a davit arm that needs to be structurally reinforced in your parapet wall so you can clean windows, you know, on a unique side here. Whatever it is, we're gonna make sure the contractor understands it. We're gonna figure out how to flash it, make sure it's warrantable with that manufacturer, and give you guys the best product that you can get. Quickly, I'll kind of zip through these so that we can get to anyone's questions here. Our project approach and schedule, we're gonna bring a dedicated PM, which is gonna be our primary contact for you on this project. And you can kind of think of that PM as an extension to your project management team here. Our staffing, they're all roofing and enclosure experts. We're not gonna stick an intern on this project, you know, that doesn't know squat or have experience, you know, like you're gonna get the guys who know what's going on during construction as well as during the design phases. Pre-planning, we're not gonna design a project that has material lead times or is out of budget, or, you know, we're gonna make sure there's that level of procurement coordination during our design phase so that we know that, you know, when it comes time for construction, we're not gonna be held up with a limited window of time for construction. And, you know, we start out with a kickoff meeting with stakeholders, with, you know, probably folks like everyone in this room, to make sure that we're meeting your requirements and the specifics that you guys want, you know, to make sure are integrated into your project. Those specifics can include priorities, budget, and, you know, we're gonna make sure that we follow all the state standards, and as well as make sure the project gets closed out. We'll never walk away from a project, no matter how long it takes, from the start. And so, lastly, I'll quickly kind of go through the specific phases of our services, which start with a design level assessment and CD production. Then we go into bidding, construction administration and monitoring, and a final walkthrough and a project closeout. And diving into those specifically, I'll tell you a little about each of those real quick. On our design level assessment and production phase, that's when we really get in there, and I think this is a stage that really sets us apart from the others, where we get in there, like I said earlier, we get our hands dirty, we understand exactly what roof system and components are gonna be there, and that's gonna help us prevent, you know, those costly change orders during construction. It helps us understand the unique approach that we could take to save you guys money, to make sure that we're doing this the right way. And project document development, that's where our unique details come in, our specific specification tailored to your project. We'll allow you guys to review while we continue to do production, give feedback in the different various stages of design development, construction documents, and we'll provide opinions of probable cost and value engineering for the most equitable solution for our clients, to meet our clients' project goals. The next stage is our bidding phase, and this is where we're gonna provide a pre-bid meeting to help outline all the contractors, exactly what that scope of work is gonna be, and tell them exactly what to expect. We're gonna show you what the nuanced things in this project are so that they can include those and make sure that they're included in their bid. We're gonna answer questions that come up during that bidding phase and issue addenda specific to your procurement protocols. And then, you know, once bids come in, this is an example of a bid tabulation that we'll put together for you guys, which really allows you to look at all the different bids, specific alternates, schedules of values, and look at it all apples to apples, so you understand, you know, the specific nuances between each different proposal. And this is where we can really start to get creative, where, okay, well, if we want this alternate, but we take this base, we can take this deductive alternate out, we can get the best cost from this guy, right? And, you know, this does matter when you're working with limited budgets from insurance claims. And so, you know, I just wanted to highlight that specific piece there. Construction admin and construction monitoring. From the construction administration side, we're gonna look at data submittals, we're gonna look at requests for informations, change orders as needed. We're gonna attend the pre-construction meeting to make sure contractors know what to expect, you know, logistics-wise, that you guys will have requirements on your site. Typically, we visit the site 1 to 3 times per week during construction. And, you know, we can change that amount depending on what you guys want specifically. And then weekly progress reports. We're gonna have a photo log of exactly what we saw, so that you're gonna have specific documentation of everything and how the whole roof goes in. Believe it or not all roofers are the most trustworthy folks in the world. And we're gonna make sure that you guys get what you paid for. And so, you know, they're not gonna be concealing a bunch of stuff when we're on site, and making sure you guys get what you want and what you paid for. And then, of course, you know, things like reviewing pay applications, making sure that contractors aren't trying to get more money than they deserve, things like that. Lastly, final closeout, we're gonna do a final punch walk. We're gonna give you that final punch report and make sure that they've done everything that they bargained for, or that you bargained for. And we're gonna review your closeout documents, do warranty walks with manufacturers, and review final pay application, and finally the release of retainage when all requirements have been met of our specifications and documents. You guys had mentioned in an email that you wanted us to kind of include our fee schedule. I put that up here. It's also in our cost proposal. And I just quickly wanted to talk about, you know, our specific rate of, or, you know, the fee structure that we're targeting here with the project. Amtech proposes to provide the roof and building envelope consulting services on a percentage of construction cost sliding scale range as follows, where we have 0 to 10 million at 7%, 10 million to 20% at 6.5%, and 20 million and above at 6%. We've also included qualifications for a public adjuster. I understand that you guys have already committed to a public adjuster, and so I haven't gone into a whole lot of detail there. I just want you guys to know that that's a service that we can also offer with a sister company that we work closely with. What makes them unique, we think, is that they actually understand roofing and all the specific components. You know, this is similar to the LPS project. They had a public adjuster on it at first who wasn't really working in the best interest of the school district, and I believe that's why Steve Everell got involved. And so, you know, while our guy didn't come in and work with them on that project, you can start to see how you don't always get the same interests aligned with the school district depending on public adjuster. That's not to say that the folks working with you guys aren't fantastic, but we just want to offer that as something that's available with our services that we can provide as well. So, you know, we provided an example. So say you had a $6 million claim, 4 million of it was for roofing and building envelope replacement repairs, 2 million was for HVAC repairs. Our services would only be applied to the 4 million of the services that we're gonna work on. I understand you guys have an HB or MEP consultant already. That's something we can also bring to the table, but we haven't provided here based on our initial walk, because we understand you guys do have an MEP consultant on site or on the project already, as well as the BEST grant for it's Thompson, correct, that the HVAC got awarded for, which is fantastic, but happy to hear that. Not always easy to get those best grants. And I would say that on that note, the best grant, we do have very good experience working with those folks over there, understanding what they need. We worked with Sheridan School District, a very small school district, kind of close to Denver, to help them get awarded a best grant several years back. So we understand those processes, and the specifics they require with estimates and everything, summaries and so forth, and so they can understand that you guys are using that very coveted bond money, or that that grant money wisely. And so we understand those processes, and that's something I just wanted to make clear. And so yeah, that's pretty much what I got here. I want to open it up for questions or anything else that we could talk about.
That'd be great. So we do have some questions. What we could do is move the table back so you can see
Sure.
the entirety of the board.
Yeah.
And they can see you well. And then I have the questions here. And we're going to go around the room, and each board member will be asking a question. And I'm going to be substituting for one of our board members who's absent.
Okay.
Mr. Charge?
Yeah, thank you for coming out, Robert. Describe how you would assist us in the procurement and selection of contractors, architects, and other consultants or vendors. How will you help us make the best decisions for our needs?
Yeah, absolutely. So, architects and consultant side, we're gonna have you covered there. That's what we do. That's our bread and butter. That's what we do every day. Contractors wise, we've worked with most of the well-known contractors on the Front Range in terms of the scope of work that you guys will be doing. And we can bring our typical bid list of our very carefully vetted roofers that we trust and know very well. We can open that up to folks that you guys like to work with out here. I know this is a little further away from the Denver typical clientele, and so there might be some other folks that you guys like to work with. But as I was kind of going through that bidding process, we can set pre-qualifications in our design specifications to make sure that we are weeding out the, Joe with a truck and a ladder, right? And there's specific, manufacturer designations that we can put in there that's gonna assure that they're folks that are very well experienced with the specific, say manufacturer that we're gonna specify.
Thank you.
Right, number 2, what specifically is your process for tracking and managing the project budget and schedule within the project insurance claim parameters?
Yeah, so we'll work closely with your adjuster and make sure that we understand that claim from the beginning. We're gonna make above all, we're gonna make sure that the system you get gets you back to pre-storm conditions. And those terms are very specific to an insurance, adjuster, pre-storm conditions. We gotta make sure that you get back to what you're at before, as well as any code upgrades that are gonna be required to get you there that are new specifics since then, since the last installation. So say you have a R25 roof system, but this specific project requires R30, which it will. We're gonna fight to make sure there's a schedule of values that one says, here's what it takes to get them back to the R25. Here's another line item for the extra R6 or R5 that the contractor has to put a specific line item, and that specific line item is gonna go against your code upgrades part of your policy. I'm sure your policy has a code upgrades piece, most do, and then that's gonna make sure that you guys get every bit of your policy paying for this project. And so that's like an example of a specific, cost tracking method that we're gonna make sure is followed during the bidding stage. Before that, we're gonna understand these budgets, and like if there's something crazy, like there usually is, like with these insurance companies, trying not to give you as much money as you deserve, we're gonna call that out and say, this is ridiculous. This is not enough money. Here's why. Here's X amount of projects that we did this year, not to mention this is a rural school district that is gonna need more money for that because contractor's gonna have to travel farther to get this job done. And so we're gonna make sure you guys are getting what you deserve and work in your best interest in that fashion.
Thank you.
This gets a little bit redundant to your presentation, but you can tack on wherever you feel appropriate. What is your background and how does that give you a broad knowledge base of the design, construction, operation of K-12 schools? Do you have any specific experiences dealing with insurance remediation projects?
Yep, absolutely. And, you know, we work with a variety of K-12 schools all over Colorado, as well as all over the country, but specific to here, you know, we have a unique environment here. You know, as you saw in the presentation, a bunch of schools, high schools, elementary, middle schools, all walks of life with roofs with different K through 12 school districts. We understand that, you know, a lot of times that means a construction schedule that is kind of specific to your summer, so it's not burdening your students and your staff during crucial, you know, hours during the school day. And that means, you know, specific things in our design package and requirements and things that we'll call out during the bidding process to make sure the contractors understand. Whether that's reviewing your contract agreement and making sure that we have enough liquidated damages in there, working with your attorney to make sure that there's specific language about procurement of materials, storage, things like that. We're gonna make sure that you guys have the best chance at a successful project, understanding the specific nuances of K through 12 schools.
When conflicts arise between schedule, budget, and quality, how do you respond?
Typically hard-nosed and mad when someone comes at us with a change order. No, I'm joking. You know, I made a specific point to talk about like some of these large-scale projects that didn't have change orders, and because we're really proud of that. We come here and we get down to the very minutia detail and make sure that our design is going to cover all bases. So much so that, you know, the contractor really doesn't have a whole lot of a leg to stand on if they come up short and win a bid and are trying to get something out of the project later. We're very understanding of how that happens, and that's why we come here and make sure we understand exactly what you guys have before we design it and call it out in our project. When conflicts arise on the schedule, you know, there are different levers we can pull, like with contract agreement things, you know, to make sure that we light a fire under their butts to get projects done. There are specific BE things that we can do to attack the budget to make sure that we hit, you know, specific budgets that you guys have for your project. Quality, that's where, you know, our experienced team, and it's not just old man Richard who's gonna be on your site, you know, it's all of us that will be out here looking at different specifics of that project. But that's where we're gonna be out here and make sure that they're not cutting corners, right? And that's where we're gonna make sure the specific details on that final walk, if there's one thing that doesn't look right per what we designed, we're gonna call it out, and we're not afraid to, you know, go to bat for you guys with the contractor. It's a regular occurrence with us, with a new contractor, say, like someone that we don't typically work with. Most of the folks that we work with now understand, you know, what it takes to get the project done, and they understand what it takes just from looking at our documents. And so I would say our documents kind of speak volumes to that and are kind of above the rest, where we're gonna have that level of detail in there.
Describe your communication style and method and typical frequency of communication with the owner, district, community, and other stakeholders in the project.
Call me old-fashioned, but my favorite form of communication is picking up the phone and calling someone. I think that that's the best way to talk with someone, but that doesn't negate the necessity of having to have a paper trail of written communications. So, you know, calling up someone, making sure stakeholders' issues or concerns are met, calling the contractor to tell them that, and then issuing, you know, an architect's supplemental information or, you know, a memo to make sure that that's documented. Or, you know, another form of communication is gonna be our weekly OAC meetings. We're gonna have an owner, architect, contractor meeting every week, where we're gonna document everything that's said, Contractor said he was gonna have material on site next week. Next week comes around and he doesn't have it. Well, then we have that documented. We can come back to that later if we need to. But you know, every little detail is gonna be documented along the way. But we pride ourselves on kind of an open communication. You guys have an issue, pick up the phone, give us a call, and we'll do the same. And you know, that's how I typically like to communicate with our clients. But you know, we do have a very specific protocol on documentation.
In the past, in what ways have you adapted to accommodate the management styles or personalities of different owners, districts, or consultants?
Sorry, I had to reread that one for a second. You know, every project brings, I would say, unique personalities and folks. And, you know, I feel like we've worked with so many different clients over the years that we've got a good handle on those specific types. You know, if someone has a different style, we'll be happily, you know, to accommodate as necessary. You know, we want to make sure our clients are going to be happy, and so we'll do what it takes to make that happen. If there's disagreements, we're gonna not be upset. We're gonna come with a reasonable response and work with stakeholders, clients, or contractors to make sure everybody's needs are met. Trying to think of examples, and it's not coming, nothing's really coming to me right now, but maybe I'll come back to that one here in a few minutes when I have an example of maybe a unique personality where we've adapted to something. But, you know, I guess I would say that we're very open to specifics, and that's kind of, you know, why we want to meet with folks in the very beginning of the project to make sure that we understand where you guys are coming from and that you're not blindsided, say, when we issue construction documents, you know, with, oh, you put an EPDM roof on this, we wanted thermoplastic from the very beginning, you know, like we're going to make sure that we understand those kind of unique, subtle things that you guys want in your project.
What concerns, if any, do you have about our project from what you've seen so far, particularly in terms of schedule or budget?
I would say the biggest concern is how soon are you guys trying to get this construction work done? Because every good contractor in the Front Range is filling up very quickly with their summer of 2025 with this scope of work. That's not to say that you can't get it done in the summer of 2025, but I think that's a big hurdle in finding a quality contractor. A lot of times these summer projects are bid out in the fall, and I know for a fact that happened a lot this fall because of all the bonds that were passed in the election recently. A lot of school districts, many that we've worked with, are kind of filling these contractor schedules up, and so I would caution you to make sure that, you know, the bidders that you get are well qualified, and make sure that, you know, it's someone who can actually hit the project schedule, because I'm assuming you guys probably want to do this work in the summer. And so that, I would say, was probably the biggest concern. I haven't had an opportunity to review the claim, the specific claim. Starting at 4 million for the 2 schools that you guys have, that feels definitely low for full-scale roof replacements. That's just based on a grasp of walking the roofs with you when we were out here. But those are some large-scale roofs. There's a lot going on out there, a lot of different roof sections. We've done this enough to where I can kind of say 4 million feels a little bit light for that amount of roofing work. And that would probably be the first thing we go to bat at, that policy or that specific claim with you guys as public adjuster.
Okay, number 8, what differentiates your firm from the other we interviewed?
Yeah, you know, I'm glad you asked this because I forgot to give like my favorite through line in a presentation, which is, you know, the thing that, you know, I'll tell you first what we're not. We're not an architecture firm that does all sorts of different types of work, ground up architecture, and then roof consulting, window replacements is just one little side piece. We're not a giant engineering firm where, you know, we provide all these different types of services relating to every different kind of mechanical, electrical, plumbing, you know, civil, everything. We are roof consultants. This is what we do every single day. We're experts in it. We understand the nuances that go into that. And while I know just from the folks that I saw here before, there are folks with construction background. I know Greg Ferris used to work for Front Range Roofing. We work specifically with him. But we also have those folks that have the construction background as well. You know, Richard has over 40 years of experience being a project manager. He understands where these guys fall short. He's taught us all through the years, these specifics, as well as, you know, we've got the team with the engineering and architecture and consulting background that's gonna make sure that we design the best project for you guys.
As the owner's rep, will you assume the responsibility of overseeing that all necessary project bonding and permitting is complete for the district? And also, does your firm currently maintain errors of omissions insurance?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, that's a simple yes, no problem answer. We're gonna make sure that the project is permitted, you know, with all the specific requirements that the state's gonna require. Not only that, the specific requirements that manufacturer's gonna require to maintain that no dollar limit warranty for you guys. We're gonna go through the nuances and costs of getting you guys the best hail claim or the best hail coverage you can, what implications that'll have. And then, you know, to the errors and omissions, I believe we have a 3 million E&O policy with a 5 million umbrella coverage. And I'd be happy to share our certificate of insurance with you guys for review if you'd like as well. But we are absolutely covered in that.
Do you have any experience utilizing blended funds to get maximum financial efficiencies for our school district? Our example would be using insurance funds and BEST grant funds to complete our project.
We do, yeah. You know, that LPS job with the 8 different schools, which was an insurance claim, you know, they also threw in a bunch of other side projects. We're like, oh, we're mobilizing here. We've got this stadium that also needs a roof. It didn't really get bombed out by the hail like the rest, and we can't get that in the claim, but we're mobilized with the contractor here. We might as well do that. We understand, you know, and a lot of times what we'll do, this is kind of comes back to that schedule value stuff I was talking about earlier. We'll divide those pieces out so that the contractor will have a specific schedule values for the different levels of work. So say you guys are doing the HVAC of Thompson, but you also wanted to re-roof section B. Well, those are all gonna be broken out. Or say section B was covered under the insurance claim, you had the BEST grant for the HVAC, and then you wanted to replace the rest of the roof because you had that money left over from a bond or something before. We'll break that all out in a schedule of values so it's easy, clear to understand, so that then we can take those contractor bids when we get them, we'll take them back to the insurance carrier and say, hey, here's this, here's the code upgrades, here's what you guys owe us for that. And then we can take the piece for the BEST grant and say, look, this is what it costs, this is exactly what you guys said we needed, and then we'll understand how much, you know, money you guys have left over to do that remaining scope of work.
What areas of owner's representation services would you say are currently your strongest and weakest? How will you compensate for those weaker areas?
Well, I like to think that we don't have a whole lot of weak areas in our team. You know, I would say a challenge for brush with us, and I'll just be completely forthright, is the location. You know, you guys are hour and 45 minutes from our office, but that doesn't mean that we can't have a successful project together and help you guys in your best interest. You know, we can do virtual meetings, OAC meetings, that we can come out at separate times. We don't always like to announce when we come out, right? And so the contractor is kind of always doing the right thing. I would say that can bring a challenge into how many times we can be on site. Say if you guys wanted us to be here 3 times a week, that'd be a little bit more of an effort, and we just have to specifically coordinate that well ahead of time. Having said that, we've done tons of projects all throughout Colorado. We've got projects in Telluride, Moffett County, up in the mountains. They're very hard to get to. Steamboat, you know, Routt County Municipal. We work with them all the time and have successful projects. And so while it's sometimes hard to be on site every day for those projects or mobilize quickly, we can quickly come to help out and make sure that, you know, stakeholders' goals are being met, I'd say. I would say that, you know, coordinating beforehand how many times that we're gonna be on site would probably be, you know, a way that we would overcome that and try to understand. Not necessarily always coordinating with the contractor, but making sure we're here for those major milestones. We're walking with the insurance carrier, making sure that they understand the specifics that we're seeing that they're not. Those kind of things, and, you know, good scheduling beforehand is how I would anticipate overcoming that.
Your RFQ submittal may have addressed this, but could you explain your proposed project team structure for this project and the team numbers projected workload? How will you ensure availability of the identified primary point of contact?
Yeah, we on a regular, every Monday, we have a staffing meeting. And we make sure that those dedicated project managers have enough time to meet the requirements that we devoted to your project from the beginning. And whether that means we're shifting folks around to make sure that that project manager is available for a specific project that you guys are working on, we're gonna coordinate that on a weekly basis. You know, maybe someone's out of town for the holidays next week and they would rather do the meeting on Tuesday instead of Thursday, right? Like we're gonna make sure the right folks are around to do that meeting and make sure that you're not getting new faces every day. And so, you know, specifics of the team, I've outlined kind of our production manager and Danny. He's also a great project manager. He's gonna be probably a day-to-day guy, whereas Richard is gonna be out on site early on the construction side of it, making sure to set those expectations with whoever the contractor is, you know, to the point of, you know, that weight is only 15 pounds. Our spec says it's supposed to be 20 pounds on the corner until that adhesive dries, right? Like those are the kind of things that our guys are gonna call out in the field to make sure that, you know, your project getting done right. Ensuring availability, I would say, is just something that we do on a weekly basis. And it does take some shuffling, and we usually have a 2.5 hour meeting in the morning every Monday that everybody loves, and make sure that we're meeting those needs of your project.
How will your firm go about providing necessary information and recommendations for this board to make sound decisions of this type?
Well, I mean, we're gonna do an assessment of all the projects that are in scope. We're gonna take a good look at the claim, and we're gonna work directly with the public adjuster that you guys are working with, or decided to work with. And we're gonna make sure that they're accounting for all the specifics that, you know, we believe are gonna be required to make a successful project. And whether that's enhancing your system from what it was, or convincing your insurance carrier, yes, this is an enhancement, but look, they're not gonna make a claim the next time it hails because of this, right? And convincing them, making them understand why a potential claim might be necessary or a recommendation that we're making. And, you know, we're gonna consistently go to bat for you on these types of things. And I'll be completely honest, insurance companies, they don't make it easy on anyone. They're gonna fight tooth and nail for every dollar that we ask for above the claim, the measly claim that they give you at first. But they can't hide the fact that, you know, they owe something when there's a logical answer for it. And so, you know, with our thorough experience, we understand those specific requirements of your project, and we can defend that and definitely help you guys with that.
Right, number 14, discuss one process or approach you have changed or improved upon in the last few years as a result of a negative project experience.
Yeah, so over the years, we've acquired more clients, and we've had, you know, a specific way of doing reports, more handwritten, and then typing into the computer, attaching photos and things like that. in the last year and a half, we've incorporated a software that allows our employees to put together reports in the field just on their smartphone. This software is just an example of kind of an efficiency that we've gained that allows us to continue working with our clients and more clients and projects. But we're constantly making checklists and using software and efficiencies to make sure that we can keep up with the fast pace of the projects and specific clients. I would say there was a point where we were reaching like production was kind of outpacing amount of projects, and that was what brought on specific softwares to help us kind of fine tune that process. And our company constantly is tweaking that specific process to make sure we're as efficient as possible, but also maintaining the specific requirements that you guys are going to want and that we're going to promise you from the beginning of our project.
How do you ensure that all costs associated with our project are appropriate and determine when to release contingencies?
Yeah, so the first part, costs that are appropriate, we start with RS means typically, which is just like an hourly, it's a specific cost estimator that's published every year, and it has multipliers for different things, different types, locations. Excuse me. From there, we'll use our past experience. I just showed you a sample of maybe 10 projects, but we have hundreds of projects over the recent years, which we can use and draw from specific costs. We have different multipliers from all those recorded projects to help us understand estimations. And an example of that is Cherry Creek School District just had us do a 30 project assessment for their upcoming bond, or their bond that happened in November. We identified 20 of the schools that we think are in need in the next 4 years for replacement, which was lower than their expectation actually. They thought they needed 30 new roofs, but we kind of showed them that they really just needed maintenance and care on some of them. But where I'm going with this is they wanted a cost estimate for each of these schools. And we walked these roofs for about 30 minutes each, and I put together a cost estimate on each of them in about a week's period of 30 different schools. And what I could say is that we did 7 of them out last month, and all 7 were right on target, and the bids came in. The high was a little bit high, the low was a little low, but the average was right there in the middle. And so on average, our estimates were high because they went with the low bidder, but the average of what was coming in, we were right on target. And so I think that really, I was personally proud of that because that was a lot of schools to estimate very quickly. But based on the systems that we design and we understand, we're going to make sure those estimates are on target and we can understand that. As far as determining when to release contingencies, that final pay app and releasing that retainage, we're not going to let that go until they've met all the requirements. And we have a specific closeout section of our specifications. We can tweak that to what you guys need specifically there. But usually what that entails is a punch list that's signed, every single item. We want to see photo documentation of every single item that has been completed. A lot of times we'll want to do a back punch walk and make sure it's been completed. Then we want to see warranties, not just manufacturer warranties, but contractor warranties. We want to see operations and maintenance manuals. And we're going to make sure you have all these documents and everything you guys need to close out this claim before we release those contingencies or retainages.
With even the best team, there will likely be issues in the 1 to 2 years after completion that will need attention from busy vendors. How do you manage follow-up and warranty phase services for us and hold vendors accountable for performance after all parties have been paid in full? Use examples from recent experience.
Yeah, so something we've kind of started doing in recent years is a 11-month follow-up walk as well as a 23-month follow-up walk. It's typically what these manufacturer warranties will want. Like say you get a 20-year no dollar limit warranty. there's language in all these roofing manufacturers, the low slope roofing manufacturers, warranties that say, the first 2 years, the contractor is responsible for this. Everything after that, we'll pay a contractor to come repair. So that goes with the contractor's warranty. We're gonna make sure that you guys have, and we're gonna come out here and set a date from the project completion. It's like, okay, in 11 months, we're coming back out here, we'll see you here, we're gonna walk everything, and you can tell us any issue that you've had, you know, oh, we got a big rain back in July, and this issue came up. It's not really a big deal now, but we'll go investigate that issue, make sure those things are taken care of, and that we understand it, so that we can get those things repaired, even if they, you know, wasn't something that came up in the final punch walk. Although I will say, in our final punch, we fine-tooth comb it very long and slow, and usually the contractor's frustrated by the end of it because they thought they were done, but they're not actually. And, you know, I would say that, you know, in the last few years, we started doing this protocol where we come back, you know, basically a year after and then 2 years after to make sure you guys are getting the most out of that contractor's warranty before they can, you know, go off into the sunset and say, go deal with the manufacturer.
If we do have a problem, I call you 2 weeks after, you gonna come back out and look at it that, or you gonna wait till the 11 months?
I'll probably just never answer your phone call. No, I'm just kidding. I'm totally joking. Of course, yeah. Well, like I said, we'll never walk away. I want to make sure you guys are happy, and that includes if we've already captured our entire fee. I'm here to build relationships. I know that coming out here to answer your call 2 weeks after, say we sent our final invoice, is going to speak volumes and probably help me win the next project with you guys. And so I'm more of a relation-based person than, you know, by the book, oh, you know, this is an ad service, this wasn't included, whatever, you know. I'm not gonna, as long as it's a amenable relationship and, you know, we're all working fair, that's our approach. We're gonna come out and help you out, especially if something wasn't right.
Sure, thanks.
Great, that concludes our questions. What questions do you have for the board, or Mr. Lorenzini or myself?
My question, so I know when we did the walk, we talked about how you guys already have a public adjuster on board. Are you guys happy with that and you're gonna stick with that approach with that public adjuster, or are you seeking more insurance advocacy services? It wasn't 100% clear early on from the RFQ whether or not you guys were seeking the advocacy in the insurance realm. You know, even if you guys don't say hire a PA from our side, we're gonna work closely with them all the way through. But just out of curiosity, I'm interested to hear how that process is going for you guys. If you guys are happy with them, do you think that they're working in your best interests? How that's all going?
So we do have a public adjuster, right? And currently, I would say we don't have a major concern. So right now, they are continuing to negotiate with the insurance company. And so far, that's been productive.
Excellent. That's great.
Anything to add?
We're contractually bound
Mm-hmm.
in that relationship, so.
Okay. Understood. Well, and I would just say then, you know, you could probably omit the parts of our cost proposal that have the Infinity folks in it. We just really included that just to basically say, we have that service and we can help you with it. But regardless, you know, the roof consulting experience that we have, I think would fit in perfect with what you guys are dealing with.
So would it be fair, one thing that stuck out in your proposal to me was on page 24, your organizational chart. Is it a fair assumption to say that because we currently are in contract with a public adjuster that nothing changes, just the one that you have built in here is replaced with ours?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And same type of services, attention to those claim matters and stuff
100%.
will still apply?
Yeah, and so our president, Ron Erdman, he used to be a public adjuster at one point. And so he speaks the insurance language, and so if anything is weird, you know, he's always sniffing it out, calling them up, talking to them, or, you know, talking to us who, you know, maybe don't have the knowledge that he has over the years. And so just that factor alone, we're gonna be able to help your public adjuster make sure that he gets the most out of the claim, which he's gonna be very open to, because the more he can get out of that claim, as you know, the more money he's gonna get at the end. So he's gonna be very amenable to that whole approach, to make sure you guys get as much as you can out of that claim.
So, I don't wanna make assumptions, and I wanna clarify kind of what I picked up through your presentation. You referred to you guys as an architectural firm.
Yes.
And so, is it accurate to say that within your proposed owner's rep services is architectural services that otherwise may have to be in addition to owner's rep services?
We're gonna be your representative from the design, construction, bidding, all the way through. I would say, you know, that's how we approach that owner's rep position. So no, yeah, that 7% fee captures every bit of design, bidding, construction administration, and our project management throughout the whole project. And so, you know, we're gonna be your liaison from the design side with the manufacturer. We're gonna work directly with that PA that's working with your insurance company. We'll walk with the insurance folks as well if we need to make sure that everyone's, you know, meeting the requirements, or everyone's, you know, seeing it the way that we're seeing it, say. So, you know, I guess, are you guys more looking for an owner's rep to manage an architect and a client team, or, cause, you know, I guess my proposal
Well,
is.
Yeah, I think there's two versions there, right?
Mhm.
And I just wanted to clarify that I was understanding your proposal correctly, and that the architectural design work is included in
Oh, 100%.
in what you're presenting.
Absolutely, that's what we do, yeah,
Okay.
that's, you know, I've walked away from a production meeting, we're talking specific manufacturer details before I came over here for this interview, and, you know, our firm works directly in the design piece of it, and that's why we understand it so well, and that's how we're gonna make sure that you get the most out of your claim.
So obviously this includes some other things other than just roofs. And you referred to you guys as roofing consultants. And so talk a little bit more in detail about envelope systems, window replacements and stuff, and where you are able to facilitate those design pieces, and then those oversight and construction management pieces associated with some of those things other than roofs.
Absolutely, yeah, so we're a building enclosure or building envelope consultant, and I say roof consulting because 90% of the work we do is large-scale roofs. With every one of those projects comes some level of building envelope work. We have registered wall consultants in our firm as well, and we do large-scale window replacements on a regular basis for projects. That's why I kind of wanted to highlight that the University of Colorado Boulder project is, we've got experience in, you know, window manufacturers, the coefficients, the, you know, U values of specific windows, you know, double pane, triple pane, single pane, steel frames, thermally broken, all the different unique factors that, you know, you need to understand. I thought it was interesting that a lot of those windows over at that elementary school were vinyl. That's such a residential solution. And I wonder if there's, you know, ability to improve upon that, on a solution that we could find amenable with the, you know, a like-kind replacement. But yes, very much so, we're envelope consultants. I just specifically wanted to highlight the roofing portion because so much of the scope in your claim is gonna be related to that.
And we have certainly some, and maybe a very significant HVAC element to this. Sure, any commercial roof you're on is gonna have an HVAC element, but.
Absolutely. Yeah, so what I haven't included in our proposal and our fee is the cost of like an MEP consultant to like design a new unit. But say you guys have your MEP consultant already figured out for Thompson and the BEST grant work, which I understand is the case. We could work with them specifically in saying like, we'll go there and we'll core that roof right there, and we'll understand, one, is it structurally sloped? Two, does it have, you know, tapered insulation? Where's the high point of that unit? Can we get the 8 inches manufacturer requires on that curb? If not, when we replace that unit, we should make that curb taller, and we're gonna coordinate with them. Now, say you're not replacing that unit, we've got specific details where I think, you know, all the major manufacturers have an Amtech file of details, you know, that are specific. We're gonna call the manufacturer up before the project starts and say, hey, we've got this unique detail. We only have 2 inches of clearance here, but here's what we're thinking. Is this a warrantable detail? And we're gonna get that response in writing, and we're gonna make sure that that's in the assembly letter when we get that in submittals. And so you have a project and you get this done, this work done, but this doesn't mean that when the manufacturer comes out and he says, that's not 8 inches, I can't give you the warranty here. Like, well, we have it right here, it says that. That prevents a change order of, you know, that guy, of that contractor coming out, mobilizing a crane for 2 days to remove that unit, raise it. If it's super close, we're gonna say they have to raise it in the scope of work. And we have a whole lot of language in our documents. They're gonna make sure, you know, plumbing lines, gas lines, everything is done the right way to prevent you guys from getting dinged with these large scale change orders, you know, after the fact. And so we'll 100% work with, you know, the interface into those units. We don't have services in there to design them, but we do regularly work with MEP consultants, and we have a couple favorites that we enjoy working with. If, you know, that scope needs to be added to our proposal, we could certainly provide that service as well.
Any other questions for any of us?
I don't think so. I appreciate everybody's time and, you know, everybody taking time to interview boring roofing consultants instead of watching Monday Night Football tonight, and so thank you. When do you guys think you'll be awarding?
That's an excellent question. So the board will have a decision tonight whether to go ahead and make that decision, that selection, and move forward, or if we're going to continue to watch how these negotiations take place between the insurance and the public adjuster. And if we get to some sort of conclusion and then say, okay, here's the scope now, here's what we want to move forward with as a project. So far, we know that the secondary campus, the entirety of that roof has been approved by the insurance company as
Oh, that's fantastic.
well as Thompson. So we have both of those. They just awarded an additional 4.3 million. That's ACV, right?
Mhm.
But that just came out today.
Excellent.
So
Congratulations.
we're moving forward. That's where we are moving forward. But there are multiple days of on-site inspections scheduled this month, in fact this week. So we'll see where the board wants to go. They may table that decision until that inspection takes place and see where it ends, so that they have a clear scope or clear project boundaries for us to go into contract with that selected ownership.
Understood. Excellent. Well, we will be waiting with bated breath on your decision. So we appreciate the opportunity to come here and talk to you guys tonight.
Appreciate that, Robbie. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Have a safe trip home.
Thank you very much.
You have everything. Please feel free to take a water.
Oh, yeah, thank you.
We do have snacks in the kitchen if you want a snack with some goodies.
Before we get into it, I just want to clarify. So that's
Cool. Your mouse is right.
Thank you for being flexible.
Oh, of course, yeah. No, I know. It's,
The one that I signed is the.
gotta be
old one.
fluid in a situation like
The
that, you know?
one that
Always
has my
with
signature
technology,
on it.
always do.
in here?
Mm-hmm. It's in board docs.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
very
Good.
much.
That's
Okay.
that's the invalid.
Thank you.
Yeah, so the lesser of the two is the new one. Yeah. Right? At 250 now.
Con, you good?
I'm good.
Okay. So, next item of business, discussion of owners rep candidates, 4.1. Mr. Cody, would you like to take the lead on this?
Absolutely. So frequently we talk about pros and cons of each. That's what we do when we interview. So you could go that route. Mr. Lorenzini is here tonight too, so I had a couple board members reach out to say, hey, we'd really like to have Jamie's point of view. So I don't know if you want him to start off to share his perspective, because he's walked with them, he's talked with them, and if you want to start there, and then it's just open for discussion. Also, you heard me say it in both interviews, but you do not, it's not required that you make a selection tonight. It was in the RFQ, or the RFP, so you can. And you could say, hey, we want to move forward with the best project, that's done. You could say, hey, we want to move forward with that and a roof. You also heard the constraints and the concerns about, okay, if we do a roof, prior to that HVAC, I have heard the lead times on HVAC are extremely long right now. It also is correct that there's a lot of projects that have been approved around the state, both through BEST and bonds. A lot of bonds took place in the metro area this year. So there are a lot of projects. I just want us to, I'm just putting that out there, that is a fact. You did hear two different types of proposals too. All of the RFQs that Mr. Lorenzini and I sent out were recommendations from various people. So people that were vetted, and we were like, okay, here are some good possibilities. We didn't do it blind, we didn't send it out on a listserv at all. So from that, we had 5 firms that came on site. Out of that, then we selected 2 for the interview process, and those are the 2 that you heard tonight. So Mr. Lorenzini, you wanna share your thoughts?
So, I do agree, even today, talking with Travis, and he brought a fellow on site to help get to do the assessment of the rooftop units, and he said the same thing as far as this part of it goes, that they are way out. So where these guys are telling us tonight that to do it as one unit, they were talking way out as well. So that's gotta be the truth. So now I think it comes down to how we wanna proceed, right, as far as doing a roof and then having to come back in and get back on that roof and putting HVAC units on, or if we wait. As far as who I think's the best candidates, walking with them, they're both knowledgeable, obviously. I think I don't know what you guys just heard, but I totally believe Amtech is more used to working with insurance claims and roofing and windows, but I mean the insurance world part of it. The first gentleman answered, I think I've had this feeling from day one that I think he's more of a ground up construction firm, you know what I mean? And I think at that point we've got to decide what we want to do there too. The other portion of it is, after talking with them tonight, I feel like I guess we got to determine, do we need an owner's rep? And I mean they do provide quite a bit. I was going to ask that question, but I talked with Brad today a little bit too, and it does seem like they do a lot more than maybe what we thought. But I mean that still goes back to how much do we trust if we do a design build, how much do we trust Travis, right? Travis is our design builder, and he's gonna go ahead and run one part of the project or another. Do we need an owner's rep at that point, right? I mean, he acted like this was talking with Travis today, and Millie actually was on the phone too, and Millie brought it up on his own, so then I kinda asked Travis, I said, what are the benefits of an owner's rep at this point, with where we're at today and how we're going? Both of them, because Millie had told me, well, we don't mind working with an owner's rep, and we will. But Millie has the same, keep in mind, I think their alignment of how they do things is more engineering based, right? They dig in up front, find the solution, hopefully there were less than 1% of back charges or cost changes. That was their thing, and so I asked Travis about that too, and he said, no, I don't, they probably are, you know, I mean, and Travis kinda knew who they were a little bit, but I don't know, there's another whole wrench in the plan, right? Do we try to save whatever money we're getting here, not go with an owner's rep? Do we feel like we need an owner's rep? I'm gonna tell you, this is, it's a bigger ballgame than what I've ever been used to, right?
Well, I think that
this is a storm damage
Oh, I agree.
project, so naturally, an owner's rep is not a necessity,
Right.
right? A GC scenario, design build scenario, probably encompasses the majority of what's needed. We have to keep in mind that we went down this owner's rep path, because we felt we needed to make an investment in solidifying this project and removing some things from Marcia's plate so she can focus more on what her true role is and her strengths are, and that's not what's happening on the buildings, but what's happening in them,
Yes, definitely.
for lack of a better term. So, I don't wanna lose sight of that. I think your points are spot on and align with the same thoughts that I've had, but I think when we talk about what's the need of an owner's rep, it's more that than do we need the owner's rep to facilitate the project? Not necessarily, I think get done, it can done in a highway without one, but then that requires that element between GC and district to be filled, and that has to be filled with people that,
Right, have other jobs.
one, out of all fairness, your expertise, I mean, yours more so than yours, but your expertise is not high-level commercial construction projects,
100%.
right?
I
And
like
so
that
we
I
need to fill
understood a lot
that
of the
void.
acronyms tonight, you know, I know them now.
Well, you're further things than me, because I'm like,
Didn't know them 6 months ago, know them now.
well, what's
Yeah,
that?
by golly.
So,
And I 100%
Language.
agree with you, Bryce, and I mean, I'm not trying to sway our decision, that's just, I wanna be forefront with what, I know you guys know Travis, and I wanted to just put that out there, you know, after talking with him. But I totally agree with that, that's why I sat there and said, well, this is bigger than what I've been used to or been around, so I don't have a recommendation at that point, but
And we're doing a disservice to kids, right? If we allow this to take away from what's needed for kids.
Yeah.
And to me, there's a justifiable investment in ensuring that that doesn't happen, and that's where an owner's rep falls in.
The idea that, I'll tell you as selfishly, the idea of them doing best grant reporting, the RFQs, the solicitations, all of that, like,
It's
I'm
huge.
like, oh, wow, just because even though it probably didn't look like much tonight, to get to this point,
Yeah.
the amount of time that it does take someone to do
Right.
all of that, I'm like.
No, not to
oh.
interrupt, but it still looked like quite a bit.
yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It's-
Well, we have to have
No, it looked like quite a bit, so.
We're required to have an owner's rep for the best grant part,
Correct.
right? So, we
Well, I
have
didn't,
to.
no one told me that either, so they're.
We
they're
are,
again, Why
but-
do we not hear that until tonight, you know what I'm saying? Like,
But to reinforce Millig's point is Millig, I think, is qualified to serve that role. If we didn't have our owner's rep, I think they could satisfy that need from the best grant standpoint.
That's correct.
Can I, you mentioned, did you visit with Travis after our meeting with BBD?
So, yes, I did. I have to think through, like, okay, that last Monday seems like a really long time ago, Mr. Catalini. I know it does, it wasn't. But we did. So Jamie and I met with Travis. We had a conversation, and since then, actually, Jamie and Travis and Chris Tremaine walked the sites today. And so, Jamie, do you just want to give like a quick update on today's site walk?
So Travis is really just looking at the HVAC part of everything, right, to make sure, so we can get that back in front of Tremaine for,
Insurance
yeah,
negotiations.
so an estimate, yeah. And so we did that, we walked it, they were all in agreement that yeah, the rooftop units, they're all pretty much destroyed. I mean, they need replaced one way or another. And, I mean, I don't know as far as what else you want me to tell them, but that's when I started talking to Travis about like, okay, what part of this is this? Cause I talked to Millie just about, I don't know what brought on that conversation. I called Millie to ask him what I was getting for the 70 compared to what Travis was giving us, right? Because remember Travis said he was walking them for us or whatever, which I wanted to figure out the difference in that, how you know, how come? And really, we're at the same thing. Travis is gonna have to now get engineers involved, where Millig's, that first part of that 70 is what Millig's gonna do too. And that's where Millig's a lot more like Amtech here, where they're an engineer-based, I think, first and foremost, right? And these other guys were construction first and foremost. That's why he doesn't have an engineering department, like, so we'd have that extra cost. But it sounds like Millig and Amtech are pretty similar on how they keep their change order costs way down, so.
You meant to say architect.
Yeah.
Architectural department.
Yeah,
architect
architectural
department.
engineer, kind of, yeah, however, but
Right.
anyways.
So can I add on? Is that okay?
Yes, please, 'cause I'm not for sure where you want me to go.
So where we're at are, we need an estimate for negotiations for our HVAC, right? That's where we're at. We know, and I know this is going into more of it, but it's part of the storm damage. So Travis is able to, and BBD is able to give us an estimate by Friday, to a certain degree. And he met with Chris, Mr. Train, about what was required. So we'll see where that goes, and then we'll need to go into a deeper discussion about, okay, then the engineers, what is the level of detail needed to continue the negotiations with the insurance company over HVAC? But the cost, that's what Jamie heard today, the cost with Millig or BBD for HVAC estimates is relatively similar.
By the time it's all apples to apples, it's gonna be really.
For the
close.
full scope of the.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
correct.
But, so, I guess for tonight, the main reason I wanted to discuss HVAC inspection is to understand that Travis and Chris are on the same page, and Travis is gonna provide Chris what he needs
Mhm.
to continue to move forward at this
Yep.
point. So we're not holding any of this process up at this point. We've provided Chris with what he needs to take the next step. Once he gets that step completed, he'll come back to us, and we'll need to either approve Millig or BBD to do that engineering phase that's more in depth.
And did that answer the question? Is that the piece that you wanted to know more about? Or was there more?
So, I guess my bottom line is Travis came and did this, so this is in the wheelhouse of what,
Well, so yeah, he's worked with contractors before, he'll have a contractor,
Yeah.
but, and he had, there was I didn't get the guys, M3, but
Well-
he had his, HVAC guy with us to walk with him too, the one he will use probably the guy is gonna put together a lot of that.
so he had a guy with him
Yeah,
also.
yeah.
Okay,
So
that's good.
That his contractor is the milling guy that he would use, right?
The mechanical engineer.
Yeah, the
Well,
mechanical engineer
And
slash
I know
HVAC.
somebody said, well, why didn't they fill out an RFQ? But the RFQ was only
For owner's rep.
for these owners reps,
Yes.
and they do not do owners rep type stuff.
Well, on the other
They
side
could
is,
probably fill it in, I'm just saying, that's why we didn't see a bid come in.
did we send them an RFQ?
I did
package?
not, and I can tell you
So-
why.
So that's
And Travis
the
knows
other
why,
reason why.
yeah. With BBD, what I had understood, I just misunderstood, being new to the community. I thought they did metal buildings, that's what BBD did. That was my knowledge base. However, when we were meeting with BBD over the greenhouse, he being Travis, was giving Jamie ideas of people to contact for various, he just knew everybody. And I said, okay, so you seem to know a lot of people. Can I ask you, who is a strong HVAC recommendation? Who's a strong HVAC provider? And so then we started talking, and that's when I realized, oh, this is something that we could also have BBD look into. And we know them, they're our neighbors, right? He's like, they were a metal building company that has grown and expanded. And that's where, as a board, you can say at that point, hey, do we want Milling to give an estimate at that level of detail to hire engineers at $70,000, or do you want BBD at that level of detail? Once we have those proposals for you to move forward with, you can. Right now, that does not need to happen for this first round of estimates, it sounds like, and we're having BBD do that right now.
So that's what was determined today, is that BBD can facilitate
an estimate.
An estimate to satisfy Tremaine's next move.
Right, to give to Selective so that they can continue with the negotiations, that it's not stalled, that we're waiting for something. So they will have it by the end of the week. So we're moving forward.
One more question so that I don't forget, and this has nothing to do with that. This has what to do with you sent out that insurance came up with another 4.6. Is
Mhm.
this over and above the 6.1 we talked about that we haven't received yet but had been told we would get? Did we get the 6.1?
So we're at, and I'll just pull it up real quick.
Where are we at totally, and that'll just clear it up for me.
We're at a little over 9 million right now, total. So we've spent 1.3, let me just pull it up. I'm gonna turn it off just because I don't know what's in my email right now. And
So that's
you
how
don't
you do
wanna
that,
see
huh?
it, I've been in a lot of meetings today, so I have not touched my email very much. And, but let me pull it up and that way you have it.
But you received, because weren't they talking about last week that they had made a comment that they were, it was 6.1 or something?
It was 11 million.
Well, we weren't gonna be at 11 million with that 6.1. So is this the 6.1 that changed?
It's a portion of that.
It's a
Yeah.
portion of that,
So
okay.
this is called the statement of loss. These are all these things, this SOL
Yeah,
is a statement of loss. I've learned a lot about those. But anyway, here are all the payments to date. And what this does, make sure you can see it, it takes it by location. So these are all the locations throughout our district, right? And at what time that amount, this is ACV, was decided by Selective. So you can see here, this first, it's row 5, 6, and 7. Those were the February, and in February, you just had the maintenance building and the sports complex. Since then, you've had some additional dollars to the sports complex and the maintenance building. About 140,000 between the maintenance building and the sports complex. But the rest of this from July 11th through today are all the other buildings. So you can see all the amounts that were given. The biggest amount for this December 16th approved amount, this 4.5, I said 4.3, but I didn't have it, was this 3.4 for that full roof replacement and some other things at the Brush Secondary Campus. That's that 3.4. If we're like, hey, what was that 3.4 for? So we could go here to what was decided. So, and here's the date of the loss, the claim, and the payment. Oh, here we'd go to buildings. So anyway, what it was that, yeah, so 6.2, looks like the deductible is 1 million here, so that's where we got the 5.2. So going back here to the secondary campus, you can see there was 3.4 at the August 15th payment on the secondary campus, 1.2, and then in July was the 500,000 in the secondary campus. So far we've received 5.2 million for the secondary campus. Again, actual cash value, that's not replacement cost value.
Does that include the sports complex?
The sports
Or is it
complex, so this total amount, this 9 million, just a little over 9 million, includes that 1.3, so you have then about, what, 7.7 right now in actual cash value.
Oh, I see it listed on a separate column there, okay.
So
That
back to
makes
the,
sense.
back to the owner's rep
Mhm.
conversation. I guess we heard, probably should have heard pretty loud and clear that a summer of '25, high-level construction project is not feasible or attainable. And so I don't know that learning that information tonight, I don't know that we need to be in a big hurry. I don't want to delay this for an extended period of time or anything, but this is a big, big decision around a situation that
It's still
pretty
happening.
fluid.
that's pretty fluid and stuff. And to me, we don't have the ability tonight to making apples to apples comparison decision, because I don't think those were the two, I don't think we received parallel proposals, right? For instance, just at a glance from fee structures that were presented to us,
Here's what it is.
there's a significant difference. I would specifically like to see if we can attain an idea, a rough estimate of what the architectural costs are gonna be for the scope of this project. Because that's, in my opinion, what I'm hearing and seeing is that is a difference in those cost scopes that we received tonight. So I think we need to understand a lot of that to make a sound decision, and we've learned tonight that we're maybe not on as hard a pressing timeline as at least I assumed coming in. Like, we gotta move if we're gonna get this done this summer. And then coupled with Jamie's report of everybody that's been on that roof, other than the insurance company, says we've gotta replace HVAC units.
And that's going to be a major piece. So sorry, this is the Clyde Nettles. Clyde Nettles is the selectives estimators. So if you can see on the screen, we have a document for every single building. And so you can see this is how their ACV is right here for each one of these. So this happens to be what's called it's the H building, ag building, van storage. So these are, okay, this is everything that has been approved with ACV to be replaced. And this is the secondary campus, it's 34 pages of that. So it's all the description of what has been approved so far. And then, like I said, there's one for each one of those buildings, there's a document.
So I'm just gonna push back on you a little bit on that, Bryson. The sense I got from the answer is that we don't really need this project, and if you don't, I mean, we need you to make a decision sooner than later, or we might just step away from it. The other thing is contractor availability, and I understand that now we're considering 26. But I think the sooner that we have an owner's rep identifying contractors, the better. And then I believe both candidates discussed options of oversight or working with Tremaine on the claim piece. And we had never, like, that's not on our radar right now. We didn't include that in our thought process or scope for an owner's rep, and they're both offering that piece, and I think there may be some value to that. And then the other piece is if we decide as a board that we want to work with the owner's rep on the BEST grant as well as the storm damage, which I think they're both willing to do and maybe both want to do, we probably need to, they need to get hooked soon, because we're gonna start on that right around the corner. So just, I'm not saying we have to do it tonight. I don't think we can screw around for 6 months.
No.
Oh, no, we
But I think 30 days would be wise and prudent.
Like the
Yeah, I
June
agree.
20th meeting?
Yeah,
Or January 20th?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, June
I think I
20th
have
will be
some-
your 6 months.
That's gonna be here before you know it.
Yeah.
You're right.
No, all extremely valid points,
Well, and
and I agree 100%. What was proposed, I see a lot of value in that overall process, right? And of course, we need to get all the players around the table to make this final push to June 28th.
Yeah.
And we've gotta be within the proper timelines to make this final push to June 28th, to make sure we're getting accomplished what has to be accomplished by that deadline. But this is a big piece of it.
Mhm.
So,
And
what are the pieces that we need to make a decision?
Well, we probably for what, well, might be out of that.
The one for sure that I have tonight is I would like to see if we can't acquire a rough estimate of what architectural costs are gonna be. Architectural design costs are gonna be for this.
Well, his slide, did it not show 7% for a $10 million project?
But you have to understand, you have one proposal that includes that and one that
I
doesn't.
know, I know.
And so to do a fee comparison, to me, and that's why I asked those specific questions, because I want to understand, okay,
Yeah,
they're both aligned in terms of their owner's rep, roles and responsibilities, oversight, contract work, follow-up, accountability, all of those things, but there's this one caveat, which is the difference in fee schedule and stuff that I see.
yeah.
And so,
Well, 7% of 10 million.
if one that doesn't have that included in their proposal is where they're at, and architectural costs are gonna be $150,000, well, now we can plug that in and do a better cost comparison.
Right, have an apples to apples comparison that way.
Closer to apples to apples, yes.
So we want Amtech or, I'm sorry, American or,
I would say answered would be the
so
one
we
that
want
needs
answer
to.
to basically.
Is
come
that an
back and tell
appropriate,
us-
is
yeah,
that
I
an appropriate
think-
question to
I-
seek
exactly.
from answer?
I would think so. I would give that feedback and say, could we have this, make a projected cost of what that would be, the design cost? And I think the question is what it is, which is it best? Is it all of it, right? Is it
Yeah.
all the storm
Well-
damage and best?
And you bring up another point there from that wanting to get to as close to a parallel assessment or evaluation of the two is one includes the best project and one doesn't, as I understood it.
That's correct.
So, but, let me speak out of turn here, I hate.
Was my math right? 7% of 10 million, 700,000.
Yes.
So that's a huge, huge discrepancy.
It's way off.
And,
I mean,
and I didn't,
and
I
that
math
was
based
just
on
the
20
argument.
because answer said 20,
For-
That's how they've made their
Including
projection.
best grant stuff, yes.
including best grant stuff, so you're right, when I sitting here in the middle of it all.
Yeah.
I did it wrong, and that's my whole point. is
But-
I didn't-
But I think Sean's point's pretty valid then. I mean, if you're talking 20, that's, we're knocked down to 6% then, but that's still
Six-
12
That's
that'd be-
still
At 20, it'd
1.2
be
million.
6.5%, it's 1.3 million.
compared to 280,000.
Well, no, 500, almost 600. Right? Where did I do that?
Oh, were those added together?
Yeah, because you had, there was two lines there that you have to add together, is the way I read that. Because you have your fees and your reimbursables. Check it out, that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So there's a $700,000+ difference in those.
Potentially, yes.
Yeah, depending on the overall final scope, right?
Which I have no idea.
But and I think it's only
Actual
fair
cost,
to
that
these
could be the
firms,
number.
too.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I got a little confused on that whole deal with the answer though. As far as the permitting and all that, did they say they would do that, or was he saying they wouldn't do that on the permitting questions? I remember when we got to answer and he said, first he said, yeah, but then but they did.
I think the way I understood it was, yes, they'll be within their scope is permitting and that stuff. And what he said was, no, they don't carry E&O insurance because the E&O insurance need falls with the architect.
Okay, that makes sense.
And then obviously a contractor, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
Whereas
They do, they're the architect.
they're the architect, so
Right.
they have to carry the E&O insurance.
Yeah.
That's what I understood.
Yeah.
That's, I understood that too.
Where are you coming up with the 600,000? Because the grand total's 258.
Well, you've
The
got,
only thing you adding together on there is mileage.
So there's two,
you have a monthly fee of 254.
Yep.
And then you have reimbursables of 258, right?
No.
No, that's just
Oh,
the
okay.
total, you just
Okay,
added.
you're right, I did
41.
read that wrong.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So it brings
I
it
did
to
read that wrong.
258.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. So yeah, we're
Big difference.
we're sizable and we gotta get,
That, I was sitting
Understand
there
that.
going, is my math
Yeah, I'm sorry.
off? Because I'm like going, that's 700,000.
this is what happens to Bryson when he gets documents during a meeting.
On the architect, and then I'm like, no, it's not 70,000, that's 700,000. I mean, just the simple one at 10 million at 7%. And then looking at this, yeah, we don't have apples to apples
This
here.
figure is figured
Well-
at 20 million.
And
So this figure is including best and storm damage
Which one?
from Answer.
The one you got folded,
right,
This here.
Yes.
20 million, yeah.
Yeah. But it doesn't have any architecture in it, so.
It doesn't. That's what we need to understand.
The
is
Is
how
that,
much-
is that gonna be 6%,
It could be.
you know,
It sure could.
of the 20, so 1.2?
Scary.
It sure could be, because if they're the
Very-
ones that have to carry the E and O, there's
Yeah.
a lot of burden on that deal.
Yeah.
So,
And with the best
We
grant,
just
that's
need to
4
understand
months
that.
of work.
we have some work to do to
yeah.
be able to
And
give a
then-
parallel comparison.
And the other part, you're gonna have more of a little bit of an idea. Right, Friday is when BVD, and they get back again with Tremaine, and they get numbers, and that goes to insurance, and then,
The other piece that we have to, that we really have to consider too, is though it seems extremely attractive when you have somebody sitting here proposing to you, and we understand our struggles with the insurance company and with that process, and they talk about being involved in that and stuff, but we're already paying somebody 5%.
right?
So how much value can we put on overlap services? Another thing that until we are able to sort some of this stuff out, how do we make a proper assessment?
And with the first, with Answer, a lot of times what would happen, from my understanding of this process, is once you've selected an owner's rep like Answer, they would put out a proposal for a designer, the architect. So an RFP would go out, they would lead it, not me, with here are the specs, because they have a lot more knowledge about construction. This is what we're looking at, this is the type of designer we want. Then they would go through that process and you would select that designer, that architect. And so that cost for an architect might be hard for them to define because we haven't selected an architect. Does that make sense? So it would be based on, hey, it's up to whatever the proposal is.
I would guess they would get close enough to explain.
They could tell you their past.
I bet they get close enough. I mean, they surely could give us a rough number. I understand what you're saying.
Mhm.
But they should be able to tell us if it's gonna be 6% or if it's gonna be 0.5%. I would think. That's a lot of money.
And that's a quick question I could ask them, what their average cost for a designer is. But I would estimate it to be around that price for that process. Because it's a 4-month process just for our best grant, that design process. It's pretty extensive, so.
Yep. Okay, any other discussion on that? And Jamie already talked about 4.2 HVAC inspection. So I think we can move to 5.1, selection of owner's rep.
Move to table it till next month.
I'll second it.
Been moved and seconded to table this action item until next month. Is there any debate? There is no debate. Roll call, please, Mrs. Smith.
Mrs. Garrett, Mrs. Hanson, Mr. Miller,
Aye?
Mr. Mortensen.
Aye.
Mr. Tadalini.
Aye.
Mr. Winchhammer.
Aye.
Mr. Chard.
Aye. Motion passes. Next item of business, 5.2, best grant. Mrs. Cody, can you please just discuss with the board where we are with this process and just put it on the record for just where we're at here and what we need to move forward?
Absolutely, hopefully I can articulate it better than what I articulated a moment ago. So with the BEST grant, Jay Hoskinson with CDE needs us to make a decision if we're going to move forward. Because if we aren't, then they want to be able to offer those funds to a different school district. We won't sign a contract with them until the beginning of January. So that's, once we say yes, we are moving forward with the BEST grant, then they will work on creating that contract. And then I will be asking the board to approve that contract. It could be that we need to have a special board meeting early in January to approve that contract. I don't know the date that that contract will need to be signed. So once I know, I'll let you know. Then we have, right now we have Millig that has created a proposal. And they worked to help write the BEST grant, and they know the BEST grant. In your packet are two documents that I want to point out to you. One is that BEST grant grantee guide, so that was right with all of the documents that were with the owner's rep, so you'll see that. The second is a very thick document that is your actual BEST grant, and maybe you've spent some time looking at this and reading it before, but I wanted you to have the actual grant. So one of the requirements of the BEST grant is we must make sure that we do the work that is outlined in this grant to the T. We can't skip some of it, opt some of it out. We have to do what is required. Millie does know what is in this because they wrote it, right? They also wrote the RFQ, and then wrote an RFQ, and they interviewed with Dr. Wilson last March, and then he signed that intent to award a contract. It wasn't a contract. They would not submit a contract for you to take action on until after you sign that contract with BEST. So you would sign the contract with BEST, and then you could sign a contract with Millig for this BEST grant. The BEST grant has to be completed within 30 months of being awarded the BEST grant. So you have a 30-month parameter to make sure everything in this grant proposal is done. So Millig would love to have a new notice of intent to proceed with Millig. That's not required, and it's not a contract. The reason they would like that is because they're putting time into this to start some of the initial work that needs to be done. So one of those pieces is tomorrow we will have a lighting expert on site starting at 8 a.m. that will do an audit of all the lighting throughout the district. They'll actually take an inventory of every single light fixture, light bulb throughout our entire district. One of the things I became aware of is we do not have LED lighting throughout our campuses, we know that, but I thought we probably would have it at the secondary campus. That's not the case, and so Jamie could talk a little bit more about lighting, but that will need to be a decision that this board makes sooner rather than later, is about lighting. Because from my understanding, again, remember, I'm not a facilities expert. I'm learning and willing to learn. But with lighting, if you choose to move forward with lighting, that is not part of that BEST grant. That would be an additional $100,000 to $200,000 to replace lighting. It is, if you recall, when Millig gave their proposal, they said that's the time to do lighting, is during when you're doing an HVAC. They also said they're going to do this assessment tomorrow, this inventory audit, whatever you might call it, of all of the buildings, because they said the cost of coming on site is where the cost is incurred. This lighting expert is doing this audit at risk, so there's no cost right now associated with doing this audit tomorrow. Millig is taking in that cost, so that's where they would like acknowledgement that yes, we're planning on proceeding. There's questions, right? You just found out about this BEST grant that we were possibly receiving it 2 weeks ago. I know that you haven't had a lot of time to do your own vetting and all right, I wanna understand this. So there is no contract that you have to agree to. You don't need to move forward with anything, an action item with Millie. You could, that's up to you. But I definitely need to know if the board wants to move forward with the BEST grant. Questions about the BEST grant?
Millig's proposal for the BEST project has them serving in the capacity of owner's rep,
It can.
correct?
They can serve in that capacity. So they are
And-
design build.
And from your conversations, would that come in addition to what we've seen so far? Or is that built into that?
So they're set up as a design build, just a general contractor, and they're hiring a subcontractor. From their perspective, and Jamie verified this today, is they see that owner's rep as a redundancy. That could be a possibility. I've also heard on the other side of the coin that no, you wanna have someone to hold GC accountable. There's two sides, right? The thing that I need to make sure from my perspective is who's doing the reporting to BEST, all of the reports, all of the budgeting, all of those pieces. Is Millie going to do that? Is the owner's rep going to do that? And have clarity. We do not know Millie's cost, right, for all of that. Anything that's in the BEST grant is just a proposal. It's not a contract. It's not the full scope. And in fact, you won't see the cost for everything until after the design phase. So what would happen is if you signed the contract with Millie in January, because again, the contract's not available tonight, that will have the cost for this design phase. And it will only be phase one, this design phase. That would take probably 4 months. At the end of those 4 months, you could walk away. You could have somebody else do another design. All of those are possibilities, right? Then that's where that guaranteed maximum price, the GMP, that's one of those acronyms I knew, that will come out at the end of the design phase. Is it going to cost a little over $5 million? Is it gonna be $6 million? Is it gonna be $4 million to do everything that's required in this grant? That's what we will find out after the design.
So how was the BEST grant application amount determined? How did we know what to apply for?
So they estimated best based on what they knew at that time. As you're doing the design phase, they know, hey, you have X number of dollars in BEST. That number is not going to increase. You have matching funds, so they know that's that 2.2 right now. If we, during the design phase, let's say we have 2 board members sitting on that design committee, and they're like, no, we really wanna, have this upgraded, whatever. Okay, that's gonna cost more because that's outside of this parameter. All right, we wanna go with this brand. Those are all going to be conversations during that 4-month design phase, but it has to fit the parameters of this. For example, the lighting. If you choose not to do the lighting, from my understanding, that would cause the equipment to need to be bigger and have greater capacity because you're gonna have a heavier load because those are not LED lights. If you choose to do lighting, which again can't fit into the BEST grant, but that's an additional $100,000 to $200,000, you could have a smaller capacity HVAC system, a little bit more efficient. So all of those components are parts of that design phase, but you won't have the actual numbers for the construction until after the design phase. That's the architect.
So what happens?
And then it comes into, through that process, a comparison of lighting's gonna cost $175,000, but if you change the lighting, our projections of energy savings are X amount of dollars annually, and we can do these units instead of these units, which saves you this amount of money, and then you get a cost comparison to make decisions from, and that's why Millig for that role in this project was intriguing to me, because their expertise is in doing that, is what I understood from their proposal. With that being said, I'm struggling with the idea that we're going to sign any document, whether it's a contract or commitment of any sort or not, with Millig, because that feels like the cart ahead of the horse.
Tonight,
Because,
you mean?
tonight.
Yeah.
Or before we have solidified and signed a contract, a best contract, everything else is ahead, the cart ahead of the horse, for lack of a better term for me. Because that's the ultimate, like, we're not doing this unless we're able to enter into an agreeable contract for the best grant. Because we don't have 5 point whatever million
Right.
to do it. So, the lighting audit is happening, that's at risk, that's no financial obligation to us. That comes in that phase. I mean, I would assume that Millie can come back to us with some sort of projections, because in order for them to draft a contract, they're gonna have to give us numbers to make a decision. Is lighting part of the contract, or is lighting not part of the contract? Right?
And lighting is a factor. I want you to hear me, that there is cost, because if you choose, when you get into the design phase, to go with, you don't choose not to go with lighting, the cost of machinery supposedly can cost more, and so you eat up your costs. I also talked to Jamie a little bit, was it today's phone call? I don't know, one of our conversations about what is the lighting impact on the campuses, like what a paint, and I think you ought to hear this, because I'm gonna be asking you to make that decision probably the next time we're together. Whenever you're signing that Millie contract, because of that, do you wanna go lighting or do you not? So if you're okay, can he just have a couple of moments to just talk lighting real quick? Just talk about the impact, is it working? Notice of lighting.
So, I mean, my question to Marcia is how imperative is lighting in classrooms? Like, when we go through the classroom, there's a lot of them that are dark. Then you have flickering lights that we're replacing, we're putting not LEDs back up, because, I mean, we do actually, when applicable and where we can, but, like, I guess you gotta ask yourself, health-related flickering lights to learning environment to dim, you know what I mean? And then the next thing would be, what kind of return on investment do we have coming back from, whatever Xcel Energy feeds us back, right, as far as the lighting? And I know, like, the old part of one of the gyms in there, that's all not LED lights. We changed some of them over. We've got some LED lights in the new high school, like the entryway lights, those were LEDs, but when they put them in and they had a 5-year warranty, well, guess what? They lasted 5 years and every one of them burned out. So we have replaced those 12 or something, and 15, we're up to 20 now. I mean, I think because we've got 2 different entryways that those fancy LED lights burn up, but these new ones, we've got a little bit better warranty coming with them. And, I mean, I guess, at what point do you say the learning environment is for the lighting, and then also with what they're saying, the heat coming off of, the heat transfer from LED compared to fluorescent, and now you're talking about, like she was saying, what kind of unit you gotta have to offset that temperature. I mean, that's questions that I can't give you the answers to, but.
Well, that's what a firm like Millig's, I mean,
Correct.
that's their role,
Right.
Correct.
right?
And is Millig's for?
They'll be here at 8 a.m. tomorrow too.
Right.
I'm sorry, Jamie.
And it's funny to even think about, right? But,
So that.
I mean, just look in this room.
Right,
How many stinking lights are in this room compared to your house?
right.
Like, there's more lights in this room than I think there are in my entire house. And it does, I mean,
Eats a lot of
the
energy.
magnitude, that volume of energy and the heat creation is significant in these big commercial buildings, so. I mean, it's a fair
It's
thing
a-
to take a look at.
So that's all part of the BEST grant, and those are all additional considerations and decisions that this board has to make.
To be,
We'll say the lighting control situation at the secondary campus is not ideal. I would agree, Jamie.
yeah, that's how it was put in. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't think we could change that necessarily. I mean, we could try to, that'll be more, that's not, that's above and beyond.
But like we can't, the controller for the hallways and the vestibules, we can't get into it anymore. The security certificate on the server is expired. We don't have the software to get into it through serial, stuff like that.
That'll be good for them to know tomorrow
Yes.
though.
So, like, there's a lot of problems with the lighting, outside of the efficiencies of the power. There's some weird things going on.
So are you saying that you don't have access to turn lights on and off and things in places in that building?
We can't change the schedule. A lot of the switches still work, but the automatic, like the schedule for the vestibules, that is all set on a schedule that is now stuck behind some weird SSL certificate error that we can't get past.
So when a company builds a controller like that, if they quit supporting it and they quit giving you new security certificates, they just abandon it basically, right? And you can't get in, even if you have the passwords and you own it.
It's frustrating. And the timing.
So,
of
yeah,
the
we
drip
can't turn
is
our own
slower and
lights on and
slower.
off.
In a 5-year-old building?
Yeah, that's full of fluorescent lights instead of LEDs.
Oh,
And no ADA doors.
must be tired.
Okay, so I think what Mrs. Cody's asking is if this board would bring a motion to declare intent to accept the BEST grant.
I move that we move forward with the best grant.
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded to move forward with the BEST grant. Any other debate? No, there's no debate. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Garrett, Mrs. Hanson, Mr. Miller,
Aye.
Mr. Mortensen.
Aye.
Mr. Tadaleeny.
Aye.
Mr. Wincheimer.
Aye.
Mr. Chard.
Aye. Next item of business, 5.3, revision to Morgan County assessed value. Mr. Miller, as board treasurer, can you discuss this item with the board?
Yeah, so, nothing crazy, but just for knowledge and transparency purposes, after our meeting last Monday, Sandy received an updated,
Assessed value.
county assessed value, more for Morgan County, correct? Which the numbers were reran and everything does not change the total mills levied, but did change the assessed value, which is part of that resolution document. So just from a standpoint of being transparent and correct and proper and all those things, I think it is appropriate that we transact business this evening to adopt this new resolution with that change, which would overwrite the resolution that was adopted last Monday night. So with that being said, I will move to adopt resolution 2024-08, property tax mill levy, with the total assessed value of Morgan County being $259,594,990. That includes a total program mills of 27, bond redemption fund mills at 12.615 for a total of 49.015 mills.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to adopt the mill levy resolution 2024-08. Is there any debate? There is no debate. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Garrett, Mrs. Hanson, Mr. Miller,
Aye.
Mr. Mortensen.
Aye.
Mr. Tadaleeny.
Aye.
Mr. Wincheimer.
Aye.
Mr. Chard.
Aye. Motion passes. Next item of business, interactive boards. Is there a motion to approve the proposed interactive board purchase or a motion to purchase a lesser quantity from Trifera?
Or is the table open for discussion?
It is.
I certainly want to appreciate Bobby's efforts to be thinking forthright and thinking of ideas and stuff to potentially save the district money in the long run. I don't know that a public entity has the ability to scale inflation fully, and this proposal for this volume of boards certainly gets to a level that without it being a budgeted item within the district, I struggle to be okay with that at this time. I think that, as I understand it, a significant portion of the suggested 60 boards would immediately go on a shelf until needed.
Yeah.
And
we would, I'll work with Jamie and get them installed within a month or two.
you would replace working boards with new boards?
Yes, part of my plan to like extend the fleets, the existing fleet to, well, beyond 5 years. Because my plan would be to take the working ones that are out of warranty, 2 to 4 years out of warranty, store them in the elementaries and use them to keep the elementary up and running for as long as possible, which considering their failure rate is only like 2 or 3 a year right now, probably will accelerate. We'll be needing to swap them out, 2 at some point. So stacking them in my server rooms, I can store 15 to 20 in each building of the elementaries, and if they die, you grab Jamie or Grady or Josh and we take the broken one down, the new one up, very minimal destruction and no destruction. But no, my plan was to not just wait for them to die and burn through warranty. I would put them up and have warranty TVs upgraded in the secondary campus this second semester.
I appreciate that clarification. I still feel that this is a large enough expenditure item that it needs to be solidified in a replacement schedule within the tech department, and probably needs to have specific budgeting parameters or practices associated with it. So I would ask the question, what would be a legitimate number that you would be comfortable with purchasing to get you through the second semester?
That's the tricky part, because if we do a smaller amount, then we just do the thing where we just sit on them and wait for them to fail. Otherwise, we guess, and we could guess wrong, and then another wing has more failures than the other. And then it gets tricky. When they all got put in within the same 3-year period across the entire district, it's just really hard to try to predict where and how to best try and like refresh, because we didn't phase them in any reasonable amount of time. We just went full hog like my predecessor liked to do, and now we're in a situation where the secondary campus is 2 years out of warranty. There's a handful that were purchased and replaced because they've been failing at a pretty reliable rate of 3 or 4 a year up until now, where they've accelerated. So most of them just do not have a warranty at all. And going back and looking at quotes, depending on the time of year, the price fluctuates from, he got them from $2,800 to $3,200 per TV, because that's how these particular types of TVs work. They're not MSRP, they're completely contingent on supply chain and stock in the United States. So I just got locked in. I was able to get a price, lowest price I've ever seen, and I think that's an opportunity to lock in buying power for this district later on in other projects. Because if we start replacing them 10, 15 at a time, and it's subject to a 10% tariff or more, inflation, whatever circumstances Trafera has that gets us the $700 less per panel price, that's not a guarantee that that'll be there in the future. So it could be where we start paying the prices that the other vendors are giving us, over $3,000 a panel, plus inflation, plus tariffs. That's a lot, that's potentially over the next 5 years, that's several complete Chromebook refreshes that are just a buying power that's gone. That's just how I'm thinking about it. And there's other things that are worrying me that I would rather spend this lower price on these instructional tools now, because we don't know if E-rate will be around, because SCOTUS might strike down E-rate in the summer. So now that's $4,000 and $3,200 a month more we will have to pay. So all sorts of headwinds that in perfect conditions we won't have to deal with, but we're gonna hit some of them. And there's a lot of budgeting realities that I'm trying to navigate, and this big ticket item, locking in this low price and a 5-year warranty and giving ourselves 60 out of warranty but functioning TVs to keep the elementaries up and running, I think is the most cost-effective way so we don't have to deal with an extra $3,000-4,000 here and there, and that's several hundred over the next 5 years of Chromebooks that we can all look forward. But that's just how I'm looking at it, and I don't know if that makes sense, but if they are going to fail, and it will be probably 50 to 70 over the next 5 years across all 3 campuses, so I just don't think, and I can scale back our Chromebook refresh now that we have gone a summer where we haven't let them take them home at the secondary campus. We were able to assess damages and cycle out damaged ones. I pulled the battery pack charging units from the classrooms. So we've gone from 20 motherboard failures to just 2 this school year. So like the failure rate I was able to rein in the failure rate on the Chromebook so we can scale back our Chromebook refresh. But, and there's other projects that I would gladly sacrifice over this to get this done, because I can navigate those way easier than a TV that has no ability to be creative. I can't buy a refurbished TV. And if I do, it would come with a warranty, so I don't want to do that. But I can buy a refurbished Chromebook or refurbished Chromebooks because I can buy parts and I can fix that myself. So it took me several weeks to come to this conclusion, but it's the only one that makes sense to me in terms of the next 5 years.
So what slated projects within your department, if any, will need to be postponed or pushed aside to accomplish this?
The network refresh, or the network upgrade, I can either do just the top level, which would be 15,000 instead of 80, and that would give us most of the way there to what we need. And then the phone refresh, all our phones are working, just 80 to 90 of them are from a proprietary system that is deprecated, so I can no longer update extensions or anything like that, so they're locked in at that extension forever until they fail. So that's annoying, but we usually buy with that. But purchasing $200 phones as they fail, subject to any inflation trade war that we're dealing with, that's a much smaller hit to us than 10% on a $2,000, $3,000 TV.
To me, it seems like we're getting the cart way ahead of the horse here. If we only need 5 or 10, whatever, why can't we just do like we do at home in our own businesses? When something breaks, we buy it, and at that time, why would we need to buy 60 now? I understand you want to try to save money, but there's a lot of what ifs in that. What if this happens? What if that happens? If I ran my business like that, I'd have been broke a long time ago. So to me, it makes sense that we just buy what we need now, get by. If more break, we can buy 5 more down the road. I don't see any reason that we should be buying 60 at this time.
Just trying to navigate budgeting windfall or headwinds that are pretty obvious.
I can think of a lot better things we could spend $120,000 on right now than a bunch of TVs.
They're not TVs. They're interactive panels. The teachers use them every day.
They are heavily used.
If they don't have one, they have to change how they teach while we wait for it to come and be delivered. It's a big disruption when they do that. Like, one of our teachers was just down, I had a spare, but it took 2 days to get help to come in, so she had to do testing. She couldn't do her own lesson. So she just skipped over that and went to do MWA testing, I believe, because she didn't have a TV. It's a disruptive thing when they fail. Unfortunately, we've gone down this road.
So I hear that, and I think everybody understands that. It's a viable educational tool in our classrooms. But I'll ask again, how many TVs do you feel need to be purchased for you to be comfortable to not have disruption through the second semester of this school year?
I would say, if we're being conservative, I would say 10 would probably get us there, but it might be more than we need, it might be less than we need. I do not know.
And you had 5 fail in the first semester, is that correct?
Just at the secondary campus alone. I had 3 last year, across all campuses.
And so district-wide, you had how many in the first semester?
5.
Okay,
Well,
so you
only
just
in
had
the-
failures at the secondary
I
campus?
haven't had any in the other campuses yet, but they do
And-
use them less than they do. They are a little newer.
And these units in all 3 buildings were put in on that same 3-year cycle?
They were within this 3-year period, aside from some new additions and some upgrades. The first batch were 55-inch and he upgraded them to 75-inch around the time of the secondary campus. Pinning down which ones are which, since we didn't have any asset management, is tricky, but I did hang them all, so they all are mostly all within 2018 to 2021.
Okay, and I see that you have a Trails digital lesson library as part of this bid, a 1-year subscription. What is, apparently that's a necessity for those to operate
No,
what we need?
that's just Trifera putting in their fund,
Okay.
like extras. It's not anything you have to continue with.
So is there any software or licensing or anything of that nature that's gonna be needed for these now or in the future?
They are Android 13 devices, so they're big tablets essentially, and so they have a more recent Android version. The ViewSonics that we currently have, even the Generation 5 ViewSonics, are several versions behind, so they will last us longer in that respect. But yeah, there's no management licenses. There is management you can do, so I can bring up a console and push out like scheduling updates and stuff like that, but when I'm in the building, that doesn't make any sense to do, so.
So if, hypothetically speaking, if we decided we only wanted to buy 15, does the price per unit stay the same or does it go up?
It'll go back, it'll go up a little bit.
Like how much?
And
You don't know?
I reached out, once I found out that New Line and ViewSonic are all manufactured in China and Taiwan, I reached out and got a quote for an entire building refresh, and it got this price, and it is considerably lower than everybody else's. I don't know their magic, how they get it so low, but, yeah, it just seemed like an opportunity to lock in a really good price to replace and get warranted units and more warranty. Like, there's now a 5-year warranty, no longer a 3-year warranty in our secondary campus where they are the most heavily used.
Has that warranty been pretty good? I mean, do they, if something goes wrong, do they send you a new one, or?
Not a ton of them have failed within the warranty, but yeah, generally, we send them serial number, they send us replacement, we ship the other one back. We can purchase extended warranty, past that with white glove service usually, and that only handles on-site repair, but that's generally for 5 years and, you know, anything anywhere from $1,000 to $1,500 for that white glove service. So.
And the warranty I used in a previous district on new line panels, and that I can say that was accurate. We used a different company called Bloom, and they paid a lot more for them prior to me arriving or being there, but it was, if there was a problem, they would have us troubleshoot a few things, and then if not, then we would just send the they'd actually ship a panel first, we'd install it, and we'd just send the other one back.
So the 5-year warranty, if we bought less than 60, would we still have a 5-year warranty, or would it drop to 3?
It would be 5.
Okay.
Because we're an educational institution, we get the EDU pricing, and it comes with 2 extra years now.
Okay.
So.
But the pricing you got was set at buying 60 units? If you-
60, and we're not talking a huge a single, it goes up about, so far, every time I've gotten a quote, it's gone up $3 or $4 every time, over month to month. The 2 we previously purchased to replace the 2 that died last were just $95 a panel more. But that's not nothing. That's almost $6,000 if we of savings across. That's 6 panels basically we're getting for free at this price. Right. So if we buy fewer, I don't know exactly what it'll be, and the price will have gone up anyway, because it has gone up every time I've gotten a quote. So I don't know, I can't tell you what a 15 will be, because I will have to get a fresh quote. And
Just want to make sure I heard that right. You purchased 2, and they were roughly $95 more than this $19.99.
yes.
Is that, okay? Do you have any working used units in inventory, not currently being used?
The first 3 that broke, me and Grady and Jamie shuffled them around, and, you know, he's stronger today because of it, I'm sure, but
They're heavy.
they're heavy as hell. But yeah, we don't have a ton. If anything, we have maybe the one in the cafeteria, over by where they do the ticket. We could take that one and use that as a spare. It's not used much. Past that, we've exhausted the others.
Okay, so you don't have any sitting
So
in
you
inventory?
don't have any, yeah.
No.
Sorry, an unused
No,
inventory.
we'd be ripping them off like they were.
Yeah, we'd be finding, there's the workroom in Beaver Valley had one. They don't, that doesn't need it. Talk to Brian, said yes, take it. So that one's gone. And so finding, I haven't found any others like that, unfortunately.
So from being in buildings, I've noticed, not a lot, but some like in hallways,
Yeah,
like Thompson hallways.
I wouldn't, those
Are those the same units, or
aren't-
those?
aren't.
Those are TVs.
Those are just
Those are
TV.
just digital signage.
Okay.
So LG digital signage. So there are a couple in the hallways they're using as digital signage at the secondary campus. I would just leave those, let those fail, and when they fail, I would replace them with digital signage. Or if the new digital accessibility line, it's on
That's a whole-
maybe we just rip them out, put up a bulletin board, I don't know. So we have roughly, in classrooms, 120 across all three buildings.
That's how many you have total? That's what I was just gonna ask.
Chalkboards and chalk was a lot cheaper, wasn't it?
It's a different world.
It's a different world today, yeah.
Yeah, when we decided to go to digital learning platforms and Chromebooks, and I mean, that changed the game, and now it's, I mean, it'd be pretty tough
Can you
to
go back?
teach effectively without that screen on the front of the classroom.
And I haven't even talked about AI yet, really, with the board.
Yeah.
Okay.
Better save
That's
that for
another
next
day,
time.
not today. Not tonight. We're not talking AI tonight.
Good plan.
Okay. Any other questions for Bobby? Does anybody,
Mr. President,
yes, Mr. Miller?
I move to approve the purchase of 10 units to satisfy the needs and request that should those 10 units be exhausted in the upcoming semester, that Bobby come back to us with that information and request for additional.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the purchase of 10 interactive boards. Any other debate? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Garrett, Mrs. Hanson, Mr. Miller.
Aye.
Mr. Mortensen.
Aye.
Mr. Tadalini.
Aye.
Mr. Wincheimer.
Aye.
Mr. Chard.
Aye. Motion passes. Next item of business, ADA doors. Is there a motion for item 5.4, or does the board want to table it until we have total project cost estimates, including electrical?
I'll move to a table until we have total cost estimates.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to table item, I guess it's 5.5, ADA doors, until we have total project cost estimates. Any debate? There is no
I just
debate.
want to make a quick comment.
Yep.
I don't want this to sound like we're like not getting something
Right,
out of your
no.
department, just like I didn't want our discussion about TVs to sound like people aren't doing a great job and exhausting avenues and opportunities and potentials and stuff, and it's just a simple matter that the world of getting certain services in a timely manner doesn't exist. And so Jamie, I mean, I just want to point out, Jamie's been after this hard, and it just didn't come to fruition by this point, to be able to have that electrical
Right.
estimate to include in this.
Any other debate? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Garrett, Mrs. Hanson, Mr. Miller,
Aye.
Mr. Mortensen.
Aye.
Mr. Tadalini.
Aye.
Mr. Wincheimer.
Aye.
Mr. Chard.
Aye. Motion passes. Next item of business, 5.6 basketball hoops in the BMS gym.
Did they say when they could get to this?
So we had some discussions, yeah, we can get to it, he can get to it over the break here. We got some discussions today, me and Bryson and Marcia, about gym usage. I was kinda waiting to see, to make sure that we're gonna be able to, the cost was working, and then, but yes, he'll get them installed. I just gotta work on some scheduling issues as far as making sure, and I'll get with the athletic directors and get all that lined out to where we'll have these two hoops, the engineer fixed in place and the hoops hung by end of break, so the 6th.
We can
So-
talk about how long it will take.
Yeah.
So he's guessing, I mean, I guess he's thinking 2 days, maybe 3 to do both, but it's hard, I mean, he's gonna run into some things when he's trying to install these up there, and he knows it, but, you know, could be 3. I told him I kinda told him, I said, I'd be kinda looking more, he's thinking 2, and I said, well, if everything goes good, right, but anytime you're making a repair like that, you know, I don't know, what is that, 60, 80 foot in the air, and you're trying to put steel up and drill holes, and there's some other factors there with, drop ceiling, how it's fixed and fastened up there, that gets in the way a little bit, and then trying to, you know, fit steel up in between panels, but he was pretty confident we could do it, he could do it in 2/3 days.
can we schedule that early enough in our break that we can be pretty sure that we're not gonna interfere with gym class and
Right,
Middle
and
school
worst case
basketball.
scenario, we will make sure if for some reason we can't get it to completion, we can stop at a point where we're not disrupting those deals either, right? You know what I mean? It's not like, it's not gonna be where I gotta, things tore apart where we can't have gym class in there, right? I mean, as long as I'll coordinate with everybody the days that we can have the full days in the gym, and we'll try to do it over a 3-day period where there's not gonna be any interruptions. But if I gotta work, if we gotta work with, you know, until 4 o'clock in the afternoon, or we gotta stop early, I think you can do some of that work up above, stop, put the ceiling panels back in, come down. You know, to hang the hoop's gonna be the second half, coming off of the bracing. So it's not like it's gonna be, we're not gonna have a huge tore-up mess, but the goal is to get the hoops completed by the end of the deal, and I think we can work around scheduling to make sure that with the few things that are going on over break, that I feel pretty comfortable we can get the whole project complete inside of the break timelines. And still, if something comes up, we might not have an extra basketball hoop still, but I'm not gonna shut down. We
Okay.
won't be in the position where we're shutting down what hoops we have currently.
So the other question I have for you, Jamie, is I believe I've heard discussion that there's potential need to do the same treatment on the other hoops in that gym.
That is the recommendation of the engineer. There's the 2 hoops that we've got down were the 2 that showed signs of splitting, like severe.
Okay.
There's no real signs of splitting on the other ones at this point. I don't know, you think about when you drive a self-tapping screw into a 6x6, basically, there are 2 of them up there. Well, you know how when it comes through one side, the point's sticking through, and over time that wood starts drying, and you start seeing a little tiny bit of a, you know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Like, they're all, you can, like, they're like that, but there's no split. It's not splitting out or
Okay.
nothing. So they've been up there 70 years, right? I mean, at that point, we don't feel like it's a safety. The 2 that was a safety concern are the 2 that are down, and
Okay.
the 2 that will be repaired, and everybody feels fairly confident that we're okay. But recommendation from the engineer is to do all the rest of them, just as, I guess, a safety precaution, right? Because
Yep.
I mean, the risk involved, I guess.
So I would say we probably should put that on our radar for potential summer construction.
And after I get these 2, after he does these 2, we're gonna have a way better knowledge of how it went, you know what I mean? And he might be able to adjust his quote moving forward, you know, off of success rate of what we got going on. And if it's bad, it could go the other way.
He
too.
might not give you another quote.
That's right, yeah, after 1 or a half one, he might say, see ya. I don't think he will. So I think we're in good shape going forward. I hate to say that with too much confidence, because there is some unknowns, but.
So question was, does the board want to approve this construction to happen over break now, or postpone it to a later date? And it sounds like to me, if we do it now, there's a high chance that we'll have 6 functioning hoops for
The rest of
girls' basketball and gym and for the rest of the spring.
Record tournament, NICO practices.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of student use of that gym.
Yeah.
I move that we have them fixed immediately.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the estimate and move to have the basketball hoops fixed immediately. Is there any debate? There is no debate. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Garrett, Mrs. Hanson, Mr. Miller,
Aye.
Mr. Martinson,
Aye.
Mr. Tadaleeny,
Aye.
Mr. Winchemmer.
Aye.
Mr. Chard.
Aye. Motion passes. There is no further business. Meeting is adjourned.
Shit there too, well, don't you little stuff out.
I'm gonna take the folder this time. I usually give it back to Sandy, but there's too much.
You guys.
Gonna have to have the assortment here again.